Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to the tavern. It's good to see you all. I hope that this Thursday afternoon, is it Thursday? Thursday evening is treating you all well, and it's wonderful to see you. Let's see, who all do we have in tonight? We have Sir Matty, we have Quirt, we have Erin, we have Bear, we have Teresa, we have Marina. Marina, hello. I just got home for the first time in a month, so I'm pretty good. This is spectacular news. Glad to hear it. We've got the Bear, we've got... that's it. Alright, excellent. Football, are you excited about sports ball, Erin? Calum, hello. I don't remember. Is it the Half-Blood Deathly Hollows? Calum is the one that we are on. Bethany, hello, welcome in. Jared, greetings. Hello. So glad that you could all join us. We are in the midst of, as you can see, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hollows is our present story we're working on this fine night. Ashley, hello, love. Good to see you. Welcome in. I'm watching football right now. Very good. I'm on the fence on certain details on the chapter I wrote today. That'll happen. That's what editing is for. Callum, I'm glad you're joining us this evening. Settle in, fill your mugs. It is indeed story time, my friends. My team is having a good season, so I'm happy. They aren't playing tonight, though. I can't remember the last time that I watched football. It was a long time ago. Even when I go to Super Bowl parties, most of the Super Bowl parties I go to, we don't watch football, we play pool. Sometimes it'll be the way that the story's progressing, Matty. Sometimes it will be just the minor details. Sometimes it will be that you're forcing details in that are necessary, so it just doesn't flow very well. You're a Denver Broncos fan, are you? My eldest sister is a fan of the Denver Broncos. Yeah, sometimes it's the presentation, sometimes it's the character interaction, sometimes when you have something you have to get into the book, it can come across as feeling contrived, and that makes it difficult to suss out what exactly the problem is. I don't have a team, so it doesn't matter to me who wins or loses. I used to really enjoy sports when I was a young man, and as I got older, sports became more and more corporate, and athletes cared more and more about their optics and what they were being paid, as opposed to playing a good game. And it's made professional sports very difficult for me to watch. I'll still watch college sports every now and again if I have the time and the inclination, but it is difficult for me to enjoy sports these days. Jonathan, hello, brother. Good to see you. Welcome in. So you have to go over it. Yeah, you'll have to go over it again. We're a Chicago Bulls and rugby household. I used to play rugby and hurley I used to play back when I was a boy. Haven't played it in decades, but I did enjoy rugby and I did enjoy hurling. Rugby has gotten a lot softer now than it used to be as well. Rugby used to be very, balls to the wall sort of sport, and it's much less so now. Destiny Love, thank you kindly for the resub. 57 months in a row. What a legend. You know, Tips to the Tavern Keeper always appreciated the Scorch Queen, fearless leader of the barkeeps, head barmaid. Thank you kindly, love. I appreciate you. It's lore that connects Sunreal to the first witches in my story and the character. Yeah, so it's very easy for stuff like that to come off as contrived. Matthew said so did Matthew when he was number 14. Matthew said if he tried now, he might snap in half. I don't know that I would snap in half, but I might grind my knees together. Me too, only because I was born there. Otherwise, I don't care about sports. I've never gotten over John Elway retiring. I tried to write a world building, but Olivia's here, so it's my nighttime thing to do. Understandable. Tell Olivia we all say hello. The quarterback of the Giants has a bit of face paint that's supposed to look like Anakin scarred. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really enjoyed sports in ages. It's been a long time. Because I used to like basketball. I loved basketball when, like, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird were playing. Nowadays, basketball players are far too dramatic for me. The drama and the foul is the same reason I can't watch football or soccer anymore. Because one little person gets tapped and suddenly they're on the ground crying, and it's just, like, this isn't fun to watch. If I wanted to watch this much drama, I'd watch like the Real Housewives of Los Angeles or whatever. I was typing the thing that's alright, love. Do as you need to do. I want the Giants to win, not the Eagles tonight. We'll have to let us know who wins. You have the link to the book, but the lore requires a bit of context. But it's connected with the ancient past to the present day. Well, and it might be that your new instincts that you're developing, it might be telling you that that's not really necessary. So that might be another reason why it feels out of place, because you put something in that interrupts the flow of the story, and you're coming to realize that it doesn't feel right because it doesn't feel like it should be there. Still trying to get my BDT badge back and become a super fan. Apple is the bane of my life. So Apple's changed their purchase stuff for a lot of things. And I actually just got notifications about it today. And they're making it very difficult for people to do anything in regards to purchasing things through the App Store for this kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. If I want drama, I put on Mormon Wives and listen to my mother-in-law complain about how that's not how Mormons act. Yeah, right. It's there's so much drama already in the world. I watch sports because I like to see like the prowess of athletes. Like I like the Winter X Games. I really love the Winter X Games. They're one of my favorite events to watch. I haven't watched them in a while, but the Winter X Games is one of my favorite sports events to watch because it shows the height of human capability, and I love to see that. But most professional sports these days is just full of prima donnas. Listen, I grew up Mormon. It's not that far off from some of them. Yeah, right. And they've tried to take the fighting out of hockey for so long, but the fights are half the reason that you watch hockey. Like, hockey is fun to play, it's not fun to watch. Unless there is fighting. So it might be better off implied. Yeah, Matty, some things don't need to be explicitly stated, and if it feels very out of place, it might be because you're explicitly stating something that is better to be implied, or just something that you know, that the characters know, and then they act in light of it. So there are a couple of different things that could be happening. I feel it might also be me having 5 hours of sleep. That could be too. You have to be very perceptive with how things are going. But yes, hello everyone, welcome in. We are doing Storytime tonight. I forgot, because we've had so much go on in the last 2 days, or 2 weeks I should say, that I forgot where we were in the Harry Potter story. I forgot where we were in Book 7, and we are, Hedwig just died. Hedwig just got blasted, and Hagrid just fell. Huh? Sorry. She did. She got hit with a killing curse. It's just Hedwig. Well, she got hit with a killing curse, and then Harry blew her up. And so, like, blasted is the only way I can think of to say what happened. I was shocked, traumatized, maybe, and now we are. Last we saw, Hagrid had fallen out of the sky, and Harry had only just barely been able to recover the motorcycle before landing. So there's a whole lot that went on. Yeah, Harry and Hagrid had just crashed. And Belinda, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. I did heavy armor jousting for a few summers, and they've been trying to make it a real sport. But it's wildly expensive to get into for such a small community and no real payoff. Wish I could watch it. Yeah, there. One of the people that the lady and I work with, he likes to watch bare knuckle brawling. Now, I used to like fighting a lot. As many of you know, I have a history with fighting, but I've also seen a lot of the negative aspects of fighting. I don't really like the idea of really young men getting into fighting and destroying their bodies with it. And that's true of a lot of sports, but because with fighting you get hit in the head so much, it's really easy to lose a lot of yourself if you get into MMA and boxing and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, you know, I like things that are, if it's a sport, I want to see the height of like human ability when I'm watching a sport, and we just don't really see that. Maddie says hello, by the way. Harry and Hagrid had just crashed. That's right. Uh, Harry just needs to crash out like I am. I saw that you were crashing out earlier, Aaron. Having a bit of a week, are we? So ready for Sunday. I'm now getting consistent YouTube notifications for the tablet. Well, that's good. One good thing. So we had just started doing pretty well as far as finally like reaching the audience, reaching the tavern patrons, and our primary like well-performing platform right now was Facebook, and Facebook suddenly decided that they were going to change some things, and now we're reaching no one again. So now I got to figure out what I have to do to fix that, because no, it seems to happen every single time. I got the notifications, read them, and still put my phone down before I realized it was live. Yeah, let's go ahead and run ads for Twitch, and then once we're done, we will go ahead and start with Harry Potter. All right, friends, we're gonna run ads for our friends over on Twitch, because if we don't, then they'll get interrupted with ads midway through the story. So let's go ahead and do that now. Matthias, hello, my friend. Good to see you. I hope the Corn King is doing well. What was I talking about? I'm completely lost. Completely lost. But yeah, we had two really big blows this last week. On the first of the month, they completely changed the way that they send out videos on Facebook. So now I have to figure out how to do things the way they want us to do them again. And we got news that the guild was shutting down. So Guilded is disappearing as a platform because they want everybody to move to Roblox communities, which we're not going to force everybody to go to Roblox, and I don't want to use Roblox, so we're not going to do that. So we have to find an alternative. We don't want to go back to Discord, because if we had to move the entire guild server back to Discord, that would be a monumental move. So we're contemplating things now, but we've had a hell of a first week to October, I'll tell you. My brother, thank you. The Corn King is doing well, good. I hope you are taking care of that lovely wife of yours, and that she's taking care of you. Happiness comes from two sides, not one. Milu, hello, love. Welcome in. Good to see you. Hocus Pocus is a classic. Did anybody watch the second one? I heard the second one was really terrible. Which is not surprising. Sequels and remakes are always terrible. These days. Rarely will you get a sequel or a remake that's any good. They did a sequel, or it's like the 8th one or now, but they did 2 new versions of The Predator, which I don't know how many of you like 90s, 2000s action films, but The Predator is one of the most like cool universes that came about in the 90s. Mateus, my friend, thank you for the corn. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. Second one isn't good, but it has its moments. I'll watch the second Hocus Pocus again. Alright. Yeah, well, and it's, again, like most of these remakes and sequels are not very memorable. And Predator had 2 sequels that they did. Recent ones. They did like an animated one that was not very good. The animation was neat, but the story was really bad. And then they did Prey, and Prey was pretty good. And they took all of the wrong lessons from how well Prey did and sort of are ruining it even further with the most recent movie that they have coming out. I'm too worried the new Alien series will suck to watch. It does, Court. Don't watch it. It's very bad. It's very, very bad. It ruins everything that you love. Everything that you love about Aliens is ruined in the new Alien series. This is when I take my leave. Have a good night, my friend Destiny. Good to see you, and have a great night. Good night, Mateus. Rest well. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening, and that you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Yeah, I've seen some pre-release stuff of Predator Badlands. I was excited for it when they announced it because of how well Prey did, but I've lost all hope in it. I don't even think I'm gonna bother watching it because everything that I have seen about it tells me that they are taking the exact wrong direction with a Predator story. So you have a movie named Alien? That's offensive. No wonder you keep getting invaded, the 12th Doctor. The kids were upset that they could see magic. It wasn't invisible magic. And that they didn't talk to the house like we do. Oh, for Hocus Pocus? That's funny. Most of the Lethal Weapon and Die Hard movies. Yeah, I would agree with that, Bear. I even liked Die Hard Again, or Die Harder, whatever the Live Free Die Hard. The more recent one that came out, I thought that one was okay. It wasn't as good as the original. The original is definitely the best of the lot. But Live Free Die Hard did okay. I didn't mind that at all. And which is probably best, Bethany. And I won't spoil anything for you. But my understanding of it is that it tries to subvert the genre. Like, it tries to do something new and different with the genre, and films like Alien and Predator and all of these, like, they're not really meant for that. Like, they're a very simple formula. Like, if you have 3 ingredients in a dish, you don't really need to subvert what's in that dish. There are some things that are more complicated that you can bother subverting, but it's just, yeah. Originals are always the best. I agree, Beauty and Blasphemy, I agree. Well, most of the time, usually. There are some instances where that's not true. But generally speaking, yeah, that's true. I'm home for the weekend, so good. Excellent, Marina, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. My dad's gonna be so pissed if the new Alien sucks. He loves that series. Yeah, I love the Alien series too. I even liked to Excuse me. I even liked to a degree Alien Resurrection. I liked the premise of it. I didn't think it was executed as well as it could have been, but it has some of my favorite like television moments or movie moments, I should say, from the genre are in Alien Resurrection. Um, I thought Predator versus Alien was not great, but I did like the premise of it, and I thought the fight scenes were really neat. But they weren't good movies. They were not very good. Uh, KTMCC 1989. Welcome in. I'm just gonna call you KT because that's a lot to say. Welcome to the tavern, my friend. You have marked us on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time that you seek a story. Every single car I've sold is negative over 1,000. That is rough. So today I feel like the scene from SpongeBob where I had to work multiple straight. It starts rocking back and forth, ketchup on the wall. I'm crashing out. Life sucks. I'm over it. It's just one of those dips. Now, I understand that like you're going through it bad right now, but it's one of those dips. I did, Tim. I did. Didn't I respond? I thought I responded to it. Yeah, I did see it. I'm not the biggest horror fan in the slightest, but I will never get used to whenever my brain goes, oh, that looks interesting. That's true. I found out that to fix everything that's wrong with my PV from my son's wreck cost 12. That's a lot of money. 12 grand. That's insane. Okay, I think I know what's bothering me. Chapter 18. The Lord for Lady Hecate feels weirdly placed. It's very possible. I feel special. I love creature feature horror movies, but most of the paranormal ones aren't very enjoyable. I agree with that. I agree with that quote. Uh, I I love the Predator and the Alien films because they focus more on psychological. I like psychological horror more than I like grotesque horror. Uh, the movie 28 Years Later, The Bone Palace also caught my eye. I liked 28 Days Later. I don't know how I felt about the rest of them. And I haven't seen 28 Years Later yet. So, how was it? It was entertaining. Tim. I was confused at first as to what the point was, but after I clarified it with you, it's entertaining. I had a customer yesterday who showed up, had an appointment for 2:30, didn't show up till 4:15 on my day off. I went in for him and he was over 2 hours late. Yeah, people are never very considerate with car salespeople. They just aren't. I worked in that industry for almost 10 years, and most people don't care. They yeah. There was one year where I worked almost 6 months straight without a day off. It's a rough industry to be in. Because if you don't make the sale, you don't get paid. So you have to go in and sell something. I love a good cryptid. I will not watch gore. I don't like gore movies. There are some that have a good enough story that I'll watch. Like I think the original Saw trilogy has a good enough story that it's worth watching. I don't like all the gore in it, but the original Saw trilogy has enough good story that it's worth watching. And same thing with the first three Final Destination films. Um, like there's a good enough story there that it's worth watching. So I'd say that yeah, like those are worth watching. Jessica, you said I really enjoy. Also, hi Jessica, good to see you. I really enjoy thrillers and monster movies. Straight horror with jump scares, not my yeah. Anything that relies on jump scares or the grotesque or just like shock factor, I don't enjoy. I prefer psychological horror over anything else. He didn't even buy. Of course he didn't. He wasn't going to respect your time. Why would he respect your time at all? Like half the chapter is basically Medea trying to make a villain faction sound morally grey at best, and Lady Hecate's lore is just there essentially for the history, but the weird in the placement in the conversation. Yeah, that sounds about right, Matty. Okay, I've reconsidered to finish Hook's Vendetta. I owe you that much. You don't owe me anything, Tim. if you love something, you got to put time into it. And I know you love your voice acting and the idea of making stories for people, so you got to go and do it. And you're a good voice actor, so you should pursue it to the best of your ability. I found out there's only 1,000 actual people to 90,000 cases being worked on my job. That is rough. That is rough. Nora, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. And Kayla, hello, welcome in to you as well. And the vacuum broke while I was in mid-use. I think it's because Ralph Fiennes is going to be in it. I don't know if I will actually end up going to see it. That's alright. 28 years later, the Bone Palace. I've seen some stuff for 28 years later. I don't know if the lady and I don't really go and watch movies anymore unless it's very, very special occasion. Zas, hello, hello. Thank you for the heart meat. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Valid crash out, but just take some time and breathe, because stressing yourself out more isn't going to help. Of course, Tim. Always, brother. Always. Want to say more, but I don't want to get yelled at for spoilers. It's alright, buddy. Good. Try not to blow it all on bombing your wounds. It's how I'll say it. Waffles. Oh, that's right. We're supposed to be reading. Sorry, I forgot. I wanted to go see Infinity Castle, but we're so busy this month that I don't think we'll have a chance to do it. I am very thrilled that Infinity Castle did so well, because maybe that'll send a message to people who are making movies that if you just make a good movie, people will go and watch it. So for anybody who doesn't know, Infinity Castle is an anime movie, and the anime is called was it Demon Slayer? Demon Slayer. I always get Demon Hunter and Demon Slayer mixed up. But Demon Slayer is one of the most popular anime in the world right now. It's sort of like a young adult anime. It's like PG-13, and this anime movie did $600 million in revenue in less than 2 months. It's a very limited release. It's not in every theater. Less than 2 months. I did play the ads, Marina. I'll probably need to play them again so we don't end up getting cut off while I'm reading, but because I've waffled for a bit here. But they did 600 million in revenue in 2 months, which I think the budget for the film was something like $100 million, is what they did. Yeah, Infinity Castle is rated R. I mean, the anime itself is a PG-13 anime. Is what I would say it's appropriate for. Like there's blood, there is a little bit of suggestive stuff in it, but for the most part, it's just like people fighting demons with a little bit of fan service. That's not necessary, but it is in there. No, I'm not. I was just waffling. We got off on a conversation, Belinda. I let it go. All right. Waffles, exactly, Milo. Waffles. We're waffling about. My granddaughter saw it. She loved it. Yeah, and all I've seen is glowing reviews for it across the board. And Demon Hunter is a relatively well put together anime. It's got its issues, but it is very popular. It's got a good story. It's got a good world to it. I do too, Aaron. I don't think that they're gonna do it because it seems like Bob's Burgers is gonna get cancelled after its next season. Is what I'm seeing in the industry. It's gonna get one more season and then they're gonna cancel it. If you can pull it off, try to find a large TV or monitor to watch it on. We'll definitely watch it when it comes to Crunchyroll. But we did want to go. Like, I know Everett wanted to see it in the theaters, and so did I. But we just didn't have the time this month to do it. Yeah, Demon Hunter has its problems. I would put it in overall. I put it as sort of like a mid-tier anime, as far as its overall quality, because some of the characters just are not very likable. And when I say likable, I don't mean that they're good. Like I don't mean that they're good aligned characters. When I say likable, I mean the character has to be like you appreciate the character for who they are, and it's just. I saw an article that said that, but the official release said only this season and the next season. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on at Fox and Paramount where things are just getting cancelled. I heard the Demon Slayer anime is better than the manga, and that's apparently a rare thing to pull off. They did do a very good job of translating to the screen, I will say, and because it was serialized, they did work with the writer a lot, which is rare. They did work with the writer a lot to make sure that the anime of it was going along the right way. Good day, mob, and greetings to our highly esteemed tavern owner from down under. Mick, good to see you. Welcome in. We got another Aussie in, huh? Hello, good to see you. We'll see. I hope that they don't, but from what I've seen, it looks like it's gonna get this season and next season, and then because it's becoming it's a weird thing that they do in television. Doesn't matter if it's a top show. Some of the best performing shows on television get cancelled. Like Gravity Falls was one of the most watched cartoons on Disney, and they cancelled it because the because of the way that those things work. They have to make room for new things, and the way that their contracts work is very dumb. Is very dumb. And Gravity Falls is spectacular. I don't think all adults would enjoy it, but it is an enjoyable thing to watch. Like it's very well put together. It's got a good story. I think it's definitely worthwhile to watch if you can deal with the stuff that's put in there for kids. It's definitely a very good animated series, I would say. 10 hours till my surgery. You got this, big man. I believe in you, Santana. You're gonna come through it. You're gonna power it off, and that's gonna be a bionic foot when you're done with it. Yeah, Gravity Falls is really wonderful for like if you care about folklore and traditional storytelling and cryptids and things like that. Gravity Falls is wonderful for that because it's really really good. People are panicking about benefits and coming in and asking if they're gonna have theirs. If the government shuts down, like bro, I don't know. Yeah, that's a rough place to be, Kayla. Working in government is not something I would ever envy, so we salute you for your dedication. Hilda is very good too. I've only seen a few episodes of Hilda. I need to watch more of it so that I can recommend it if people ask about it, or not recommend it if it's not good. But I've heard a lot of good things about Hilda, and I'm hoping that it is good. I know that Destiny, you've praised it endlessly, and I know a couple other people who have had too. So I need to watch it so that I can let people know. Still getting my VA disability, but I'm not getting paid for my job. Surprising amount of really good kids shows for a couple of seasons. The Dragon Prince. Yeah, some of the best shows being made are children's shows. Like we watched this for in the guild the other day, and the lady and I watched this a couple of times a year. It's Over the Garden Wall. It's actually based off of a children's book, and I don't mean like a children's book, like it's for children, as in like as a children's novel. It was a children's illustrated book that this was based off of, with a few lines per page, and it was like a 30-page book that this series was based off of. And this is incredibly good. This is incredibly good. A lot of people really like Bluey. I've only seen clips from Bluey. Obviously I don't have a young child in the house, so I haven't had prerogative to watch it. But a lot of people really like Bluey. But yeah, this is wonderful. I absolutely love Over the Garden Wall. I recommend it to everybody. And this is a kids show. It was a limited series. They did 12 episodes on Cartoon Network, and it's spectacular. It's well worth a watch. Doesn't matter if you're an adult, doesn't matter if you're a kid. This is really good. And a lot of people have a hard time watching cartoons because they're for children. All I'll say is get over it, because there are some really good animated series out there in anime and in cartoons that have some of the best stories being made in the 21st century, and you're missing them because you think cartoons are for children. You have to remember that the original cartoons, Walt Disney did not make Snow White or any of the other animated series. Those were not made for children. They were made for adults. A lot of the animated movies that were in theaters, they were made for adults, not children. And if you watch like Looney Tunes from the 50s and 60s, Looney Tunes from the 50s and 60s, and all of it, definitely not made for children. Definitely not made for children. So if you can get past that block in your mind, there's a lot of really good stories in animation out there. I mean, even the what's the guy, Frank? What is his name, Lovey? The guy who does the Viking art. Yeah, like the Conan the Barbarian stuff. Frank something. Frank Frazetta, yeah. There was a movie that was done in that style called Fire and Ice. Somebody asked me about this ages ago. And while I don't necessarily think it's like a great example, it is a great example of a really adult story with a really complex storyline that was done in animation. Bethany, I saw you. I still watch Blue's Clues with Steve. Yeah, old Blue's Clues is very good. Yeah, Popeye is very adult. Shibbles, hello, good to see you. Thank you for the heart, me. Welcome in. I want to see it again really bad, but I have to not go because I'm going to a 2-day concert on the 22nd, 24th, and I need the money because I had to change rooms at the hotel for one night, so that room isn't technically paid for anymore, and I have to have money in my bank account to pay for it upon check-in. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a bummer. I was just south of the Gong for 6 months, and now I'm back in Melbourne. Oh, he's talking to Mick. I was like, when we watched that, my data buffered so bad I got caught on get that frog out of your pants with no context attached. Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that can easily be taken out of context in Over the Garden Wall. Alright, friends, I apologize. I've been waffling. Nate, hello, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Alright, let's get started on story time. Yeah, and Looney Tunes is great. There's a lot of really wonderful classical stuff in. Hello, wanted to pop in bed. I go to bed. Well, hello, GI Robot. Welcome in. So glad that you could join us. Grab a seat, settle in. We are reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, also waffling quite a bit. Hello, I'm back. Sorry, Mom's not doing too hot and been on the phone with the doctors. That's all right, Molly. Make sure you're taking care of your mom. Kelsey, hello. Welcome in. Good to see you. So very glad that you could join us. You're just in time. I've been waffling for the last hour. So we're getting in. Someone fed Castle some waffles. Yeah, you guys know when you spark me up for a good conversation, I'm always on a roll for it. Does anybody remember the face of Nick Jr.? I do not, Bethany. You know we love waffling, ranting. Yes, you guys do. I don't, for the life of me, don't know why, but you guys do. By the way, I had a friend that was in a rehab program out there in LA. Yeah, she was in a few minutes of the Walk of Fame. Interesting. They think she had another stroke, and I'm waiting for them to call me back with the CT results. Well, stay by your phone and let us know the news. My father had 2 strokes, which led to his problems. So that's very serious. It does need to be. The face from neither one, Bethany. Wizard time, exactly. She just finished up and came back to Bama. Interesting. It is crazy for me to think about how far spread all of the tavern folk are. Like, we have people pretty much all over the world. It's wild for me to think. Because I've been a lot of places in my life, but to have people from places all over be here, at the same time, coming through the portals into the tavern is a marvel of modern magic to me. She's been sober for a good few months now. I'm proud of her. Good. Make sure you support her. That's difficult. It's a difficult time to be in, especially when you go back to your same environment. You need a lot of support from people to make sure that you don't relapse. You have to make that personal choice. But it's 2 a.m. here in Lisbon. Good Lord, all right. I'll get reading, Belinda. I'll get reading. But it's so early for you. Wisconsin. Yeah, where is everybody coming from? Let the folk in the chat know where you're coming in from, so you guys can all get to know one another if you're fresh and new. Hell yeah, that's good to hear, Destiny. Well done. It was a character that would make the announcements in the next show coming up and giving me important list. For the life of me, I don't remember. KT is coming in from North Carolina. We've got a couple of folk out in the Carolinas. Shiblis is in Diamond Bar, California. Kayla's in Arizona. Quirt is in Maryland, moving to Nebraska. Oh, you're moving, Quirt. Interesting. Also, KT, welcome in. First time in the tavern. I don't know where you came in from, but we're glad to have you. For all of the new folk, before I start, I'm going to start reading right now. I'm from Vancouver. I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight, we are reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. We are on chapter 5. Some crazy stuff just happened in the previous chapter. And now we are settling in on what happened afterwards. You have stumbled into this tavern from wherever it is you come from through a portal, and the tavern is a place where all stories eventually come to rest. And then I read them to you, and here we are all about myth and lore and tales of yore, and it's wonderful that you were able to join us. Kev Coast, hello. 9 p.m. in Maine. See, my eldest sister lives out in Maine, as a matter of fact. Kayla, thank you for the pumpkin pie over on TikTok. Shiblis, thank you for the woolly hat. And Shiblis, thank you for the heart me. And Kayla, thank you for the rose. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated, my friends. So very glad that you could join us. All right, let's begin. Let's get started. Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Fallen Warrior. Hagrid. Harry struggled to raise himself out of the debris of metal and leather that surrounded him. His hands sank into inches of muddy water as he tried to stand. He could not understand where Voldemort had gone and expected him to swoop out of the darkness at any moment. Something hot and wet was trickling down his chin from his forehead. He crawled out of the pond and stumbled toward the great dark mass on the ground that was Hagrid. Hagrid! Hagrid, talk to me! But the dark mass did not stir. Who's there? Is it Potter? Are you Harry Potter? Harry did not recognize the man's voice. Then a woman shouted,
They've crashed, Ted! Crashed in the garden!
Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid, he repeated stupidly, and his knees buckled. The next thing he knew, he was lying on his back, on what felt like cushions, with a burning sensation in his ribs and right arm. His missing tooth had been regrown, and the scar on his forehead was still throbbing. Hagrid! He opened his eyes and saw that he was lying on a sofa in an unfamiliar lamplit sitting room. His rucksack lay on the floor. A short distance away, wet and muddy, a fair-haired, big-bellied man was watching Harry anxiously. Hagrid's fine son, said the man. The wife's seen to him. How are you feeling? Anything else broken? I'll fix your ribs, your tooth, and your arm. I'm Ted, by the way. Ted Tonks, Dora's father. Harry sat up too quickly, lights popped in front of his eyes, and he felt sick and giddy. Voldemort? Easy now, said Ted Tonks, placing a hand on Harry's shoulder and pushing him back against the cushion. That was a nasty crash you had. What happened anyway? Something go wrong with the bike? Arthur Weasley overstretched himself again? Him and his muggle contraptions? No, said Harry, with his scar pulsed like an open wound. Death Eaters. Loads of them. We were chased. Death Eaters? Said Ted sharply. What do you mean, Death Eaters? I thought they didn't know you were being moved tonight. I thought... They knew, said Harry. Ted Tonks looked up at the ceiling as though he could see through it to the sky above. Well, we know our protective charms hold then, don't we? They shouldn't be able to get within 100 yards of this place in any direction. Now Harry understood why Voldemort had vanished. It had been a point when the motorbike crossed the barrier of the Order's charm. He only hoped they would continue to work. He imagined Voldemort 100 yards above him as they spoke, looking for a way to penetrate what Harry visualized as a great transparent bubble. He swung his legs off the sofa. He needed to see Hagrid with his own eyes before he would believe that he was alive. He had barely stood up, however, when the door opened and Hagrid squeezed through it, his face covered in mud and blood, limping a little but miraculously alive. Harry! Knocking over 2 delicate tables and an aspidistra, he covered the floor between them in 2 strides and pulled Harry into a hug that nearly cracked his newly repaired ribs. Blimey, Harry! How did you get out of that? I thought we were both gunners. Yeah, me too. I can't believe... Harry broke off. He just noticed the woman who'd entered the room behind Hagrid. You! He shouted as he thrust his hand into his pockets, but it was empty. You want here, son? Said Ted, tapping it on Harry's arm. Fell right beside you. I picked it up, and that's my wife you're shouting at. Oh, I'm sorry. And as she moved forward into the room, Mrs. Tonks' resemblance to her sister Bellatrix became much less pronounced. Her hair was a light, soft brown, and her eyes were wider and kinder. Nevertheless, she looked a little haughty after Harry's exclamation. What happened to our daughter? He asked. Hagrid, you were ambushed. Where is Nymphadora? I don't know, said Harry. We don't know what happened to anyone else. He and Ted exchanged looks. A mixture of fear and guilt gripped Harry at the sight of their expressions. If any of the others had died, it was his fault. All his fault. He had consented to the plan and given them his hair. Kev Coast, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the tavern, my friend. You have marked us on your map. You should be able to find your way back the very next time you seek a story. Jessica MLLIP over on TikTok, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. You've also marked us on your map. I am now back in Danville, Virginia Castle. Well, good, Stephen, good. And it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Castle, I'll try to remember to find a video of face from YouTube and DM you on the guild. Thank you, Bethany, I appreciate that. Hello everyone, just got off work. What have I missed? You missed about 3 pages and a lot of waffling, Tyson, so you're in just in time. Someone gifted us Old Bay vodka and I was in shock that it exists. I would be as well. Your voice is perfect for this type of stuff. I'm here for it. You flatter me deeply. Again, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again I tell you all a story. If you're interested in storytelling, books, films, mythology, history, we talk about the full range of stories and storytelling here in the tavern. and my lovely wife and I are the tavern keepers. So it's very good to have you, and I hope you'll enjoy your time with us. Fill a glass, fill a glass, grab a seat, and settle in. I'll just call you Kev if you don't mind. Waffling to my house, it is an excellent addition to your weaponry, for sure. Sir Bliss, it's wonderful to have you. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself. All right. The port key, he said, remembering all of a sudden. We've got to get back to the burrow and find out. Then we'll be able to send you word, or Tonks will once she's... Dora'll be okay. Dromeda, said Ted. She knows her stuff. She's been in plenty of tight spots with the auras. Port key's through here, he added to Harry. Supposed to leave in 3 minutes, if you want to take it. Yeah, we do, said Harry. He seized his rucksack, swung it over his shoulders. He looked at Mrs. Tonks, wanting to apologize for the state of fear in which he left her and for which he felt so terribly responsible. But no words occurred to him that did not seem hollow and insincere. Oh, I'll tell Tonks, Dora, to send word when she... Thanks for patching us up. Thanks for everything. He was glad to leave the room and follow Ted Tonks along the short hallway into a bedroom. Hagrid came in after them, bending low to avoid hitting his head on the door lintel. There you go, son. That's the port key. Mr. Tonks was pointing to a small, silver-backed hairbrush lying on the dressing table. Thanks, said Harry, reaching out to place a finger on it. Ready to leave. Wait a moment, said Hagrid, looking round. Harry, where's Hedwig? She got hit, said Harry. The realization crashed over him. He felt ashamed of himself as the tears stung his eyes. The owl had been his companion, his one great link with the magical world whenever he had been forced to return to the Dursleys. Hagrid reached out a great hand and patted him painfully on the shoulder. Never mind, said Hagrid gruffly. Never mind. She had a great old life. Hagrid! Hang on, it looks like we're having some sound issues. Can everyone still hear me? Looks like we had something reset. We're listening to you while I fall asleep tonight, Castle, and I start quality control training on Tuesday. That's wonderful to hear, Khan. I'm glad. Let us know how it goes. Alright. Okay, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Everything just sort of reset, and I wanted to make sure that the mic didn't go off. Alright, let's continue. Hagrid, said Ted Tonks warningly as the hairbrush glowed bright blue, and Hagrid only just got his forefinger to it in time. With a jerk behind the navel as though an invisible hook and line had dragged him forward, Harry was pulled into nothingness. Spinning uncontrollably, his finger glued to the portkey as he and Hagrid hurtled away from Mr. Tonks. Seconds later, Harry's feet slammed into the ground hard, and he fell onto his hands and knees in the yard of the burrow. He heard screams. Throwing aside the no longer glowing hairbrush, Harry stood up, swaying slightly, and saw Mrs. Weasley and Ginny running down the steps to the back door as Hagrid, who had also collapsed on landing, clambered laboriously to his feet.
Harry, are you the real Harry? What happened? Where are the others?
Cried Mrs. Weasley. What do you mean? Isn't anyone else back? Harry panted. The answer was clearly etched on Mrs. Weasley's pale face. The Death Eaters were waiting for us, Harry told her. We were surrounded from the moment we took off. They knew it was tonight. I don't know what happened to anyone else. Four of them chased us, and it was all we could do to get away. And the Voldemort caught up with us. He could hear the self-justifying note in his voice. The plea for her to understand why he did not know what had happened to her sons, but...
Then Thank goodness you're all right,
she said, pulling him into a hug he did not feel he deserved. Haven't got any brandy, have you, Molly? Asked Hagrid, a little shaky. For medicinal purposes? She could have summoned it by magic, but as she hurried back towards the crooked house, Harry knew she wanted to hide her face. He turned to Ginny, and she answered his unspoken plea for information at once.
Ron and Tonks should have been back first, but they missed their port key. They came back without them,
she said, pointing to a rusty oil can lying on the ground nearby.
And that one,
she pointed to an ancient sneaker,
should have been Dad's and Fred's. They were supposed to be second. You and Hagrid were third, and
she checked her watch.
if they made it, George and Lupin ought to be back in about a minute.
Mrs. Weasley reappeared carrying a bottle of brandy, which she handed to Hagrid. He uncorked it and drank it straight down in one.
Mum!
Shouted Ginny, pointing to a spot several feet away. A blue light had appeared in the darkness. It grew larger and brighter, and Lupin and George appeared, spinning and then falling. Harry knew immediately that there was something wrong. Lupin was supporting George, who was unconscious and whose face was covered in blood. Harry ran forward and seized George's legs. Together he and Lupin carried George into the house and through the kitchen to the sitting room, where they laid him on the sofa. As the lamplight fell across George's head, Ginny gasped and Harry's stomach lurched. One of George's ears was missing. The side of his head and his neck was drenched in wet, shockingly scarlet blood. No sooner had Mrs. Weasley bent over her son than Lupin grabbed Harry by the upper arm and dragged him, none too gently, back into the kitchen, where Hagrid was still attempting to ease the bulk of the back door. Oi! Hagrid said indignantly. Let go of him! Let go of Harry! Lupin ignored him. What creature sat in the corner the first time that Harry Potter visited me in my office at Hogwarts? He said, giving Harry a small shake. Answer me!
A Grindylow. In a tank, wasn't it?
Lupin released Harry and fell back against the kitchen cupboard. What was that about? Roared Hagrid. I'm sorry, Harry. I just had to check, said Lupin tersely. We've been betrayed. Voldemort knew you were being moved tonight. The only people who could have told him were directly involved with the plan. You might have been an imposter. So why aren't you checking me? Panted Hagrid, still struggling to fit through the door. You're half giant, said Lupin, looking up at Hagrid. Polyjuice potion is designed for human use only.
None of the Order would have told Voldemort we were moving tonight,
said Harry. The idea was dreadful to him. He could not believe it of any of them.
Voldemort caught up with me toward the end. He didn't know which one I was in the beginning. If he'd been in on the plan, he'd have known from the start I was the one with Hagrid.
Voldemort caught up with you, said Lupin sharply. What happened? How did you escape? Harry explained briefly how the Death Eaters pursuing them seemed to recognize him as the true Harry, how they had abandoned the chase, and how they must have summoned Voldemort, who had appeared just before he and Hagrid had reached the sanctuary of Tonks's parents. They recognized you, but what had you done? Harry tried to remember. The whole journey seemed like a blur of panic and confusion.
I saw Stan Shumpike, the bloke who was the conductor of the night bus. And I tried to disarm him instead of... Well, he doesn't know what he's doing, does he? He must be Imperious.
Lupin looked aghast. The time for disarming is past. These people are trying to capture and kill you. At least stun if you aren't prepared to kill.
We were hundreds of feet up. Stan's not himself. If I'd have stunned him and he'd fallen, he'd have died, the same as if I'd have used a Vadakadabra. Expelliarmus saved me from Voldemort 2 years ago.
Harry added defiantly. Lupin was reminding him of the sneering Hufflepuff Zacharias Smith, who jeered at Harry for wanting to teach Dumbledore's army how to disarm.
Yes, Harry,
said Lupin in a painful restraint.
And a great number of Death Eaters witnessed what happened. Forgive me, but it was a very unusual move then, under imminent threat of death. Repeating it tonight in front of the Death Eaters, who either witnessed or heard about your first occasion, was close to suicidal.
So you think I should have killed Stan Shunpike? Said Harry angrily.
No, of course not,
said Lupin.
But the Death Eaters, frankly most people, would have expected you to attack back. Expelliarmus is a useful spell, Harry, but the Death Eaters seem to think it's your signature move, and I urge you not to let it become so.
Lupin was making Harry feel idiotic, and yet there was still a grain of defiance left inside of him.
I won't blast people out of the way just because they're there, said Harry. That's Voldemort's job.
Lupin's retort was lost. Finally succeeding in squeezing through the door, Hagrid staggered to a chair and sat down. It collapsed beneath him. Ignoring the mingled oaths and apologies, Harry addressed Lupin again.
Will George be okay?
Lupin's frustration with Harry seemed to drain away at the question.
I think so. Although, there's no chance of replacing his ear. Not when it's been cast off.
There was a scuffling from outside. Lupin dived for the back door. Harry leapt over Hagrid's leg and sprinted into the yard. 2 figures had appeared in the yard, and as Harry ran to them, he realized they were Hermione, now returning to her normal appearance, and Kingsley, both clutching a bent coat hanger. Hermione flung herself into Harry's arms, but Kingsley showed no pleasure at the sight of him. Over Hermione's shoulder, Harry saw him raise his wand and pointed at Lupin's chest. Alright, excellent. Just checking to make sure everyone's still comfortable. Right. Still good here, alright. The last words Albus Dumbledore spoke to the pair of us. Oh, wait, this is Kingsley. What was Kingsley's accent? The last word... Hang on. The last words Albus Dumbledore spoke to the pair of us.
Harry is the best hope we have. Trust him,
said Lupin calmly. Kingsley turned his wand on Harry, but Lupin said,
I've checked him. It's him.
All right, said Kingsley, stowing his wand back beneath his cloak. But someone betrayed us. They knew.
They knew it was tonight. So it seems, replied Lupin. But apparently, they did not realize that there would be 7 Harrys.
Small comfort, snarled Kingsley. Who else is back?
Only Harry, Hagrid, George, and me.
Hermione stifled a little moan behind her hand.
What happened to you?
Lupin asked Kingsley. Followed by 5, injured 2, might have killed 1, Kingsley reeled off. And we saw you-know-who as well. He joined the chase halfway through, but vanished pretty quickly. Remus, he can...
fly, supplied Harry. I saw him too. He came after Hagrid and me.
Trying to kick us off a TikTok, they are. Molly, hello, good to see you. Did I see Molly drop in? I don't know if I did, but hello, Molly, good to see you. Cindy, hello, good to see you, welcome in. Grab your seat, fill your drink. What? TikTok is still trying to kick us off. Alright, we're good. Of course, Nate, always a pleasure, brother, always a pleasure. I'm glad you like it, Jessica. We do need port keys for the tavern. The portals let you guys get in, but we need real seats and chairs for everybody. So that's why, to follow you, said Kingsley. I couldn't understand why he'd vanished. But what made him change targets? Had he behaved a little too kindly to Stan Shunpike? Said Lupin.
Stan?
Repeated Hermione.
But I thought he was in Azkaban.
Kingsley let out a mirthless laugh. Hermione, there's obviously been a mass breakout, which the Ministry has hushed up. Travel's hood fell off. When I cursed him, he's supposed to be inside too. But what happened to you, Remus? Where's George? He lost an ear, said Lupin.
Lost an...
Repeated Hermione in a high voice. Snape's work, said Lupin.
Snape!
Shouted Harry.
You didn't say...
He lost his hood during the chase. Sectum Sempra was always his specialty. I wish I could say I'd paid him back in kind, but it was all I could do to keep George on the broom after he was injured. He was losing so much blood. Silence fell between the four of them as they looked up at the sky. There was no sign of movement, and the stars stared back, unblinking, indifferent, unobscured by flying friends. Where was Ron? Where were Fred and Mr. Weasley? Where were Bill, Fleur, Tonks, Mad-Eye, and Mundungus? Harry, give us a hand, called Hagrid hoarsely from the door, in which he was stuck again. Glad of something to do, Harry pulled him free, then headed through the empty kitchen back into the sitting room, where Mrs. Weasley and Ginny were tending to George. Mrs. Weasley had staunched his bleeding now, and by lamplight, Harry saw a clean, gaping hole where George's ear had been.
How is he?
Mrs. Weasley looked around and said,
I can't make it grow back. Not when it's been removed by dark magic. But it could have been so much worse. He's alive.
Yeah, said Harry. Thank God.
Did I hear someone else in the yard?
Ginny asked.
Hermione and Kingsley,
said Harry.
Thank goodness,
Ginny whispered. They looked at each other. Harry wanted to hug her, hold on to her. He did not even care much that Mrs. Weasley was there. But before he could act on the impulse, there was a great crash from the kitchen.
I'll prove who I am, Kingsley, after I've seen my son. Now back it off. You know what's good for you.
Harry had never heard Mr. Weasley shout like that. He burst into the living room, his bald patch gleaming with sweat, his spectacles askew, Fred right behind him. Both pale but uninjured.
Arthur!
Sobbed Mrs. Weasley.
Oh, thank goodness.
How is he?
Mr. Weasley dropped to his knees beside George. For the first time since Harry had known him, Fred seemed to be at a loss for words. He gaped over the back of the sofa at his twin's wound, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. Perhaps roused by the sound of Fred and their father's arrival, George stirred.
How do you feel, Georgie?
Whispered Mrs. Weasley. George's fingers groped at the side of his head.
Saint-like,
He murmured.
what's wrong with him?
Croaked Fred, looking terrified.
Is his mind affected?
Saint-like, repeated George, opening his eyes and looking up at his brother. You see? I'm holy, Fred. Holy. Fred, get it? Mrs. Weasley sobbed harder than ever. Colour flooded Fred's pale face. Pathetic, he told George. Pathetic! With the whole wide world of your ear-related humour before you, you go for holy. Ah, well, said George, grinning at his tear-soaked mother. Be able to tell us apart anyway now, Mum. He looked around. Oh, Harry. You are Harry, right? Yeah, I am, said Harry, moving closer to the sofa. Well, at least we got you back okay, said George. Why aren't Ron and Bill huddled round my sick bed?
They're not back yet, George,
said Mrs. Weasley. George's grin faded. Harry glanced at Ginny and motioned to her to accompany him back outside. As they walked through the kitchen, she said in a low voice,
Ron and Tonks should be back by now. They didn't have a long journey. Auntie Muriel's not that far from here.
Harry said nothing. He'd been trying to keep fear at bay ever since reaching the burrow, but now it enveloped him, seeming to crawl over his skin, throbbing in his chest, clogging his throat. As they walked down the back steps into the dark yard, Ginny took his hand. Kingsley was striding backwards and forward, glancing up at the sky every time he turned. Harry was reminded of Uncle Vernon pacing the living room 1,000,000 years ago. Hagrid, Hermione, and Lupin stood shoulder to shoulder, gazing upward in silence. None of them looked around when Harry and Ginny joined their silent vigil. The minutes stretched into what might as well have been years. The slightest breath of the wind made them all jump and turn towards the whispering bush or tree, in hope that one of the missing Order members might leap unscathed from its leaves. And then a broom materialized directly above them and streaked towards the ground.
It's them!
Screamed Hermione. Tonks landed with a long skid that sent the earth and pebbles everywhere.
Remus!
Tonks cried as she staggered off the broom into Lupin's arms. His face was set and white. He seemed unable to speak. Ron tripped dazedly towards Harry and Hermione.
You okay? He mumbled before Hermione flew at him and hugged him tightly.
I thought...
I'm all right, said Ron, patting her on the back. Fine.
Ron was great,
said Tonks warmly, relinquishing her hold on Lupin.
Wonderful. Stunned one of the Death Eaters straight to the head. And when you're aiming at a moving target from a flying broom... You did?
Said Hermione, gazing up at Ron with her arms still around his neck.
Always a tone of surprise,
he said a little grumpily, breaking free.
Are we the last buck? No, said Ginny. I'm still waiting on Bill and Fleur and Mad-Eye and Mundungus. I'm going to tell Mom and Dad you're okay, Ron.
She ran back inside. So what kept you? What happened? Lupin sounded almost angry at Tonks.
Bellatrix,
said Tonks.
She wants me quite as much as she wants Harry, Remus. She tried very hard to kill me. I just wish I'd got her. I owe Bellatrix. But we definitely injured Rudolphus. And then we got to Ron's Auntie Muriel's and we missed our port key. And she was fussing over us.
A muscle was jumping in Lupin's jaw. He nodded, but he seemed unable to say anything.
So what happened to you lot?
Tonks asked, turning to Harry, Hermione, and Kingsley. They recounted the stories of their own journeys, but all the time, continued absence of Bill, Fleur, Mad-Eye, and Mundungus seemed to lie upon them like a frost, its icy bite harder and harder to ignore. Crystalla, hello, hello, sending love to all in the mood for Xantha rather than Harry Potter. Boosted heart count. Well, thank you kindly. I appreciate that. Oh, we got ads running already. All right, we'll break for a second and run ads for our Twitch friends.
And then we'll continue. Let's see, we're on page 54. We still have a good ways to go. We got 6 pages left in this chapter, so we got a ways to go. So let's run ads for our friends over on Twitch, and then we'll come back. We're gonna take a 3-minute break. I use this stream to remind me to like chill pill time. that's a mighty compliment. I appreciate you. And for everyone who likes and shares the story time, call my head is down. It does mean the world. I appreciate you for it. It gets the tavern in front of more people, and it allows the lady and I to do more and more of the things that you all love and we love. So it's very kind, and we deeply appreciate it. I'm very comfy, just still annoyed at how I put my lore still but comfy. It's the lore all connected to House Bellatrix right now. It's likely how I presented it, but I'm going to go over the chapter again in a few days, most likely. Yeah, go over it again with some fresh eyes, Matty. It's the best thing that you can do. Finally got the kids to sleep, and now I'll be able to actually pay attention. Lady Leprechaun, long time no see. Sorry I've been missing a while, I've been grumpy. That's quite alright, we all go through our phases. I'm glad that you're less grumpy now and that you've decided to come and join us. I don't need the cheese balls, but I have an idea I need for a cosplay. And I need a jaw. What are you going to cosplay? Lady Leprechaun, thank you for the heartbeat. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you kindly. We'd appreciate you too, you're awesome. You flatter me deeply, love. Thank you kindly for that. I appreciate you. I know I'm being unusually quiet today. Hay fever has hit me, and every sneeze is a new adventure in pain. Just take care of yourself, man. Take care of yourself. I appreciate you keeping up with the ads and letting me know when we have them. Just relax and enjoy yourself. Obviously, your Australian wit is missed when it's not here, but we want you to be happy and healthy more than anything else, brother. So make sure you're minding your health first, then you can worry about us. Lady Leprechaun, thank you for the lightning bolts. Cheers for that. Tips of the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. Oh, hell yeah, Marina. That's wonderful. Spectacular. I wish to make a gacha-inspired costume. Interesting. You should expand upon what you mean, like the machine and it comes out of... Yeah. You're gonna turn yourself into a gacha machine? That's a fascinating idea. Drive safely, Tyson. It's all the canola farms, 5 times the pollen as wheat. That's rough. Stay inside, put a pillow over your head, Bear. Best advice I can give. Yeah, that's rough. It's hard to deal with. Alright, friends, ads are over for our friends over on Twitch, so let us continue. Where were we? I'm going to have to get back to Downing Street. I should have been there an hour ago, said Kingsley finally, after the last sweeping gaze at the sky. Let me know when they are back. Lupin nodded. With a wave to the others, Kingsley walked away into the darkness towards the gate. Harry thought he heard the faintest pop as Kingsley disapparated just beyond the burrow's boundaries. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley came racing down the back steps. Ginny behind them, both parents hugged Ron before turning to Lupin and Tonks.
Thank you,
said Mrs. Weasley.
for our sons. Don't be silly, Molly,
said Tonks at once. How's George? asked Lupin. What's wrong with him? Piped up Ron.
He's lost.
But the end of Mrs. Weasley's sentence was drowned out by a general outcry. A thestral had just soared into sight and landed a few feet from them. Bill and Fleur slid from his back. windswept but unhurt.
Bill! Oh, thank God! Thank God!
Mrs. Weasley ran forward, but the hug Bill bestowed upon her was perfunctory. Looking directly at his father, he said, "Mad-Eye's dead." Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Harry felt as though something inside him was falling through the earth, leaving him forever. "We saw it," said Bill. Fleur nodded, tracks glittering on her cheeks in the light from the kitchen window. "It happened just after we broke out of the circle. Mad-Eye and Dung were close by us. They were heading north too. Voldemort, he can fly. He went straight after him. Dung panicked. I heard him cry out. Mad-Eye tried to stop him, but he disapparated. Voldemort's curse hit Mad-Eye full on in the face. They fell backward off his broom, and there was nothing we could do. Nothing. We had half a dozen of them on our own tail." Bill's voice broke. "Course, you couldn't have done anything," said Lupin. They all stood around looking at each other. Harry could not quite comprehend it. Mad-Eye dead. It could not be. Mad-Eye, so tough, so brave, the consummate survivor. At last it seemed to dawn on everyone, though nobody said it, that there was no point in waiting in the yard anymore. And in silence, they followed Mr. and Mrs. Weasley back into the burrow and into the living room, where Fred and George were laughing together. "What's wrong?" said Fred, scanning their faces as they entered. "What's happened? Who's—" "Mad-Eye," said Mr. Weasley. "He's dead." The twins' grins turned to grimaces of shock. Nobody seemed to know what to do. Tonks was crying silently into a handkerchief. She'd been close to Mad-Eye. Harry knew his favourite and his protégé, the Ministry of Magic. Hagrid, who had sat down on the floor of the corner where he had the most space, was dabbing his eyes with his tablecloth-sized handkerchief. Bill walked over to the sideboard and pulled out a bottle of fire whiskey and some glasses. "Here," he said. With a wave of his wand, he sent 12 glasses soaring through the room to each of them, holding the 13th aloft. "Mad-Eye! Mad-Eye!" they all said and drank. "Mad-Eye!" echoed Hagrid, a little late with a hiccup. The fire whiskey sealed Harry's throat. It seemed to burn feeling back into him, dispelling the numbness and sense of unreality, firing him with something that was like courage. "So, Mundungus disappeared," said Lupin, who had drained his own glass in one. The atmosphere changed at once. Everybody looked tense, watching Lupin, both wanting him to go on, he seemed to Harry, and slightly afraid of what they might hear. "I know what you're thinking," said Bill, "and I wondered that too. On the way back here, because they seemed to be expecting us, didn't they? But Mundungus can't have betrayed us. They didn't know there would be 7 Harrys. That confused them the moment we appeared. And in case you've forgotten, it was Mundungus who suggested that little bit of skullduggery. Why wouldn't he have told them the essential point? I think Dung panicked. It was as simple as that. He didn't want to come in the first place, but Mad-Eye made him. And you know who went straight for them. It was enough to make anyone panic." "You know who acted exactly as Mad-Eye expected him to?" sniffed Tonks. "Mad-Eye said he'd expect the real Harry to be with the toughest, most skilled Aurors. He chased Mad-Eye first, and when Mundungus gave them away, he switched to Kingsley." "Yes, and that is all very good," snapped Fleur. "But still it does not explain how they knew we were moving Harry tonight, does it? Somebody must have been careless. Somebody let these dates slip to an outsider. It is the only explanation for them knowing that the date, but not knowing the whole plan." She glared around at them all, tear tracks still etched on her beautiful face, silently daring any of them to contradict her, but nobody did. The only sound to break the silence was that of Hagrid's hiccuping from behind his handkerchief. Harry glanced at Hagrid, who had just risked his own life to save Harry's. Hagrid, whom he loved, whom he trusted, who had once been tricked into giving Voldemort crucial information in exchange for the dragon's egg. "No," Harry said aloud, and they all looked at him surprised. The fire whiskey seemed to have amplified his voice.
I mean, if someone made a mistake,
Harry went on,
and let something slip, I know they didn't mean to do it. It's not their fault.
He repeated again a little louder than he would usually have spoken.
We've got to trust each other. I trust all of you. I don't think anyone in this room would ever sell me to Voldemort.
More silence followed his words. They were all looking at him. Harry felt a little hot again. He drank some more fire whiskey for something to do. As he drank, he thought of Mad-Eye. Mad-Eye had always been scathing about Dumbledore's willingness to trust people.
Well said, Harry,
said Fred unexpectedly.
Yeah, here,
said George, with half a glance at Fred. The corner of his mouth twitched. Lupin was wearing an odd expression as he looked at Harry. It was close to pitying.
You think I'm a fool?
Demanded Harry.
No, I think you're like James,
said Lupin.
Who would have regarded it as the height of dishonour to mistrust his friends.
Harry knew what Lupin was getting at, that his father had been betrayed by his friend, Peter Pettigrew. He felt irrationally angry. He wanted to argue, but Lupin turned away from him and set down his glass on the side table and addressed Bill.
There's work to do. I can ask Kingsley whether...
No, said Bill at once. I'll do it. I'll come.
Where are you going?
Said Tonks and Fleur together.
Mad-Eye's body,
said Lupin.
We need to recover it.
Can't it?
Began Mrs. Weasley with an appealing look at Bill.
Wait,
said Bill.
Not unless you'd rather the Death Eaters took it.
Nobody spoke. Lupin and Bill said goodbye and left. The rest of them now dropped into chairs. All except for Harry, who remained standing. The suddenness and completeness of death was with them like a presence.
I've got to go too,
said Harry. 10 pairs of startled eyes looked at him.
Don't be silly, Harry,
said Mrs. Weasley.
What are you talking about?
I can't stay here.
He rubbed his forehead. It was prickling again. It had not hurt like this for more than a year.
You're all in danger while I'm here. I don't want...
Don't be so silly,
said Mrs. Weasley.
Whole point of tonight was to get you here safely, and thank goodness it worked. And Flo's agreed to get married here rather than in France. We've arranged everything so that we can all stay together and look after you.
She did not understand. She was making him feel worse, not better.
If Voldemort finds out I'm here...
But why should he?
Said Mrs. Weasley.
There are a dozen places you might be now, Harry,
said Mr. Weasley.
He's got no way of knowing which safe house you're in. It's not me I'm worried for,
said Harry.
We know that,
said Mr. Weasley quietly.
But it would make our efforts tonight seem rather pointless if you left.
You're not going anywhere, growled Hagrid. Blimey, Harry! After all we went through tonight to get you here.
Yeah, what about my bleeding ear?
Said George, hoisting himself off of his cushions.
I know that... Mad-Eye wouldn't want... I know!
Harry bellowed. He felt beleaguered and blackmailed. Did they think he did not know what they had done for him? Didn't they understand that that was precisely the reason that he wanted to go now, before they had to suffer any more on his behalf? There was a long and awkward silence in which his scar continued to prickle and throb, and which was broken at last by Mrs. Weasley.
Where's Hedwig, Harry?
She said coaxingly.
We can put her up with Pigwidgeon and give her something to eat.
His insides clenched like a fist. He could not tell her the truth. He drank the last of his fire whiskey to avoid answering. Wait till it gets out of you. Wait till it gets out of you and do it again, Harry, said Hagrid. Escape him. Fight him off when he was right on top of you.
It wasn't me, said Harry. It was my wand. My wand acted of its own accord.
After a few moments, Hermione said gently,
But Harry, that's impossible.
You mean that you did magic without meaning to? You reacted instinctively?
No, said Harry.
The bike was falling. I couldn't have told you where Voldemort was, but my wand spun out of my hand and found him and shot a spell at him. And it wasn't even a spell I recognised. I've never made gold flames appear before. Often, said Mr. Weasley, when you're in a pressured situation, you can produce magic you've never dreamed of. Small children often find before they're trained. It wasn't like that,
said Harry through gritted teeth. His scar was burning. He felt angry and frustrated. He hated the idea that they were all imagining him to have power to match Voldemort's. No one said anything. He knew that they did not believe him. Now that he came to think of it, he had never heard of a wand performing magic on its own before. His scar seared with pain. It was all he could do not to moan aloud. Muttering about fresh air, he set down his glass and left the room. As he crossed the dark yard, the great skeletal thestral looked up, rustled its enormous bat-like wings, and resumed its grazing. Harry stopped at the gate into the garden, staring out at its overgrown plants, rubbing his pounding forehead and thinking of Dumbledore. Dumbledore would have believed him. He knew it. Dumbledore would have known how and why Harry's wand had acted independently, because Dumbledore always had the answers. He had known about wands, had explained to Harry the strange connection that existed between his wand and Voldemort's. But Dumbledore, like Mad-Eye, like Sirius, like his parents, like his poor owl, all were gone where Harry could never talk to them again. He felt a burning in his throat that had nothing to do with fire whiskey. And then, out of nowhere, the pain in his scar peaked, and he clutched his forehead and closed his eyes. A voice screamed inside his head. You told me the problem would be solved by using another's wand! And into his mind burst a vision of an emaciated old man lying in rags upon a stone floor, screaming a horrible, drawn-out scream, a scream of unendurable agony. No! Thank you! I beg you! You lied to Lord Voldemort, Ollivander! No! I did not! I swear I did not! You sought to help Potter, to help him escape me! I swear I did not! I believed a different wand would work. Explain, then, what happened. Lucius's wand is destroyed. I cannot understand. The connection exists only between your two wands. Lies! Please, I beg you. And Harry saw the white hand raise its wand, and felt Voldemort's surge of vicious anger, saw the frail old man on the floor writhe in agony. Harry. It was over as quickly as it had come. Harry stood shaking in the darkness, clutching the gate into the garden. His heart racing, his scar stood tingling. It was several moments before he realized that Ron and Hermione were there at his side.
Harry, come back in the house,
Hermione whispered.
You aren't still thinking of leaving?
Yeah, you gotta stay, mate,
said Ron, thumping Harry on the back.
Are you all right?
Hermione asked, close enough now to look into Harry's face.
You look awful.
Well, said Harry shakily,
I probably look better than Ollivander.
when he had finished telling them what he had seen, Ron looked appalled, but Hermione downright terrified.
But it was supposed to have stopped. Your scar. It wasn't supposed to do this anymore. You mustn't let the connection open up again. Dumbledore wanted you to close your mind.
He did not reply. She gripped his arm.
Harry, he's taking over the ministry and the newspapers and half the wizarding world. Don't let him inside your head too.
And so ends Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Lady Leprechaun, thank you for the pumpkin pie over on TikTok. And on Harry Potter Night, of course, I'm super late. You gotta keep up with it. Chris, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Welcome. I'm so very glad that you could join us. Esther, good evening. So very glad that you could join us. Looks like I've missed some of your readings. Washing machine broke down this morning. I had to purchase a new one. It's due to arrive tomorrow. It's quite expensive here in Australia, but this is one. Should be a lifelong lasting Samsung. We hope we're doing well. We are doing well. Sorry about your machine, but I'm glad that you are getting it replaced. Michael, my friend. Well, you know what? I forgot to give Matty a toot on the raid horn as well. So let's get a toot on the raid horn for our raiders from Michael's community and from Matty's community. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Sometimes the mic just cuts it out, so I have to make sure that I flip it over. All over flipping a circlet. Let's run out of problem somehow. Yes, I think we can probably do, well, we could probably do one more chapter, right? So much happened so fast in the first chapters. I love this. It's a wild, and this is my first time, for those of you who don't know, it's my first time ever reading the 7th book. I gave up on the series after the 6th book. So I've never actually read through the Deathly Hallows, and I've not seen the 2 films either. Lady Leprechaun, thank you for all of the gifts over on TikTok. It's appreciated. Thank you kindly. The horn faded out. It will do that. It's because there's a gate on the mic so that too much noise doesn't get through. It happens. And Molly, I'm sorry to hear about your mother. I hope that everything goes as well as it can. It's difficult to really note any of these things as they're going through, because you know it's hard. But I do hope that your mother is on gear to do better. And we'll keep it in our prayers as best as we can. Deathly Hallows is probably my least favorite of the Harry Potter books. I still like it a lot, however. So far, I've liked the structure of it. There's a lot of torturing of characters. I don't care for that, but so far, it's been a roller coaster ride. 1, the horn cut out. 2, this Harry Potter book that I read in 6 days over an 11-day period. 3, another chapter, yes please. The last 2 movies will never compare to this book. So much is left out or changed in the movies. Yeah, I had heard that, and again, I was sort of burnt out after the 6th book. It had gotten to a point where it was just very sad without a lot of hope. And I don't particularly like reading books like that. Like, I don't mind there being dread. Like, if you read Lord of the Rings is pretty much all dread. But it has a pretty hopeful and happy ending. And the end of the 6th book just didn't have that for me. So I stopped. I gave up on it. Elsie and I missed some of your reading, Castle. I know you did, Esther. I'm sorry that you missed it. Alright, friends, I'm gonna get up and stretch my back real quick. We're gonna run ads for our friends over on Twitch, so give me a few minutes. I just enjoy your reading. I'm glad you do, Bliss. I'm glad that you do. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to tell you all stories. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Well, all of the films after the third one started leaving a lot of stuff out. And again, we still need to give credit where it's due to the films, because Harry Potter is the only film series ever that did 8 films back to back to back to back with no interruption in production, no complications from drama with the people who were acting or directing or anything like that. They managed to create 8 very high quality films over a course of 10 years, back to back to back to back to back without any problems, and were able to do it fast enough that the children who started the series were able to grow up with it. And that's a monumental feat. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that got messed up in the Harry Potter films, but we have to give credit where it's due. It's the absolutely monumental achievement what they did. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but the 5th book was my favorite. I don't think that's terribly unpopular, Court. I know that a lot of people prefer the 3rd and 4th book. A lot of people like the 3rd and 4th book a lot. And some people have said that the 6th book is their favorite. But Order of the Phoenix, a lot of people really liked. So, love your voice is so calming. I'm glad, Cindy. I'm glad that it can give you some relaxation and reprieve. 4th movie was the worst. Yeah, I think that that's probably fair, Bethany. That's probably fair. That's a good point, Paz. Never thought of it. Yeah, like, even though it didn't do well as far as, like, getting it accurate to the books, the accomplishment of those 8 films being made as quickly and as on time and as on key as they were, absolutely an exceptional accomplishment on the part of the creative team. Like, just absolutely mind-blowing. Alright, friends, so we're going to do another chapter. We're going to do chapter 6. I'm going to run some ads for our friends over on Twitch. I'll pop up and stretch my back real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll do chapter 6, which, let's see. Chapter 6 it's a long chapter. We're talking 15 pages. But we should be alright. We should be able to handle that. Yeah, we should be able to knock out 50. As long as I don't waffle too much, we should be able to get that done. Not terribly difficult. Shikara, I fell in love with the Force because it was the first I read and fell in love with reading again, then I started at the beginning. See, a lot of people have a hard time, and Sheik, I'll call you Sheik, if you don't mind, if that's correct. A lot of people have a hard time starting a thing if they already know what's going to happen. I don't mind that. I am more than happy to read a book or watch a movie or watch a series. If the story is good, I don't care if I know what happens. Whatever is going to happen, if it's a good story, is all I care about. You could tell me the ending. Like, it could be the greatest twist of all time. If the ending is good, if the story is good, I'll still enjoy it. I don't get more joy from the surprise. I wanted to know when Ron and Hermione fell in love. The answer to that question is they never fell in love. Ron and Hermione never fell in love. They just were suddenly together. It was probably some of the worst foreshadowing in literature, Ron and Hermione getting together. She did not put in sufficient effort to get them off the back. I'm dying of laughter, but my favorite is Deathly Hallows. The chapter we just read was 15 pages, wasn't it? Also, I liked the second Harry Potter movie more than the second book. I really liked the first 2 Harry Potter movies a lot. I actually liked the theatrical releases because they were longer. And then, for the first film, they didn't release the full theatrical release, which was upsetting. I wish they had. Yeah, and the original Dumbledore actor was better, but obviously there's nothing you can do if the actor dies. So that's not one of those instances where he left or there was a disagreement. I think the guy who picked up, and I can't remember either of their names, but the gentleman who picked it up, he did a good job, but it just did not have the same sort of gravitas as the actor from the first two films. I see a lot of people say that, Milu. I don't really agree. I don't agree that it was always there. I agree that they were always friends, but they dislike each other more than they like each other, and it's not until they're actually, like, when she decides to put them together that it becomes apparent at all. There's a lot of retrospect that gets done in regards to Ron and Hermione, and I know a lot of people were sort of shipping it, but it literally, like, in the literary work of it, it's really not foreshadowed. And I'm not saying that to poo-poo on anybody who was excited that it happened, but just in the book, it's just not really well set up. Yeah, but bickering like an old married couple is it's not that's not a good premise to move into a relationship. It's like, oh, we hate each other all the time and we're constantly fighting, is not a really good foreshadowing into a loving couple in a literary sense. And you are your future husband, kill me now, Ron and Hermione. Right. Twitch stopped working for me, so I moved to TikTok. Well, that's a bummer. Is Twitch still working for everyone else? Yeah, and again, like, I know that's sort of that's what J.K. Rowling, that's how she explained it. I feel like that's not a substantial explanation. Yeah, and that, like, she's made a lot of statements about it on the back end, and I don't see it. I don't even know what Twitch is. Twitch is another portal through which you can enter the tavern, Chic. We have 5 portals through which you can come in and enjoy stories. I just got home. How's everyone doing? We're doing good, Tyson. We're doing good. Thank you, Esther. I appreciate you. I don't know that Harry and Hermione should have ended up together. I think it's a little bit weird that Harry and Ginny ended up together, but that was more well foreshadowed than Ron and Hermione. KT, it's wherever you like to watch from. I open the portals so that you guys can have as much easy access as possible. So wherever is most comfortable for you, that's well and good. Just read fan fictions. Hermione is better with literally anyone else. The one that the lady wishes had happened, and the one that had the more, like, rivalries, because, like, one of the issues that I take with Hermione getting with Ron is that Ron is sort of a dullard, right? Like, he's sort of dense, and we see Hermione date a guy who is very pretty and dense in Victor Crumb. And she makes it very clear that because she can't have a conversation with him, that it just doesn't work. Like, she couldn't be with Victor Crumb because she can't, she never really had any sort of, like, intellectual basis with. I personally think Hermione would have been better with Fred or George. That would have been an interesting twist. I think that one would have been interesting. The one that the lady, and I don't agree, I don't think that this one would have been obvious, but there are a lot of people who think that Hermione and Draco should have ended up together, which would have made more sense because they were sort of academic rivals, but at the same time, I don't really like they hate each other too much for that to make sense to me. Like, academically, they were academic rivals, but they just hated each other too much. So I think that Hermione and Draco makes more sense than Hermione and Ron, but still, it's a far stretch to me. So Harry and Hermione were close friends. Hermione was fond of Ron, and they eventually became a couple. I believe the last film I saw. Yeah, and again, like, obviously, these conversations are superfluous because what happens happens. So it doesn't really matter what we say should have happened or could have happened. But Hermione just doesn't really sharp enough to win a chess game. Yeah, but I know imbeciles that can win chess games, Rajan. Chess is not a game of intelligence so much as it is a game of patterns. Ron's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's not the sharpest spoon in the drawer. It's like I can't put Berry and Breed together because they literally create too much chaos with no end. Fire and Berry makes more sense because it's balanced. Yeah, and there's a certain level of expectation, right? I think Hermione and Ron were perfect. It was obvious to me, and a lot of people feel that way. I'm just saying from a literary progress standpoint, it's hard to believe based on the premise that we set up. And there's a lot of things in Harry Potter that are that way, that they develop without any sort of setup. And it's because she did not do as much planning as she likes to make people believe she did for the book. The whole haters to lovers trope is the worst. How often does it actually happen? Haters, fighters to lovers in reality is our abusive relationship and all that. And that was my point about the Draco thing. Like, how often do people who absolutely despise each other get together? Not often. You might occasionally have somebody who you like butted heads with in like middle school or something that you might end up having some sort of relationship develop there. But people who genuinely hate each other in real life rarely ever end up together. So yeah, I feel like that's. Lyoko, hello, thank you for the heart me and for the what's up. I appreciate you. Tips of the tavern keep always appreciated, my friend. Good to see you. Harry and Jenny was weird. I thought Harry and Luna would have made a good match. I agree with that, Tyson. I thought, like, when Harry and Luna started having these moments together, I thought that they were setting up for Harry and Luna to be together. And yes, that would have made far more sense, in my opinion. But at least there was some foreshadowing of, like, Harry and Ginny, like, because Ginny was very into Harry, obviously, for a very long time. Love a good Hermione and Snape, but obviously, that's a different end of the spectrum for sure. The shipping wars, the shipping wars all over the place. Yeah, Luna and Neville didn't make sense to me. Because Luna and Neville don't spend a whole lot of time together that we see, anyways. Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Bethany, but I mean with Hermione and Draco and with Hermione and Ron, like the whole constant bickering and never getting along thing and then suddenly becoming a couple, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in reality. But everybody has their preferences to like what could have happened, should have happened, what would have happened. The whole Cho Chang thing with Harry was random as hell. Yeah. The thing that we have to realize is that J.K. Rowling is not good at writing interpersonal relationships. Like, her characters are really good. She's not good at writing relationships. There's none of the relationships really make a whole lot of sense. Even Bill and Fleur does not make a whole lot of sense. It just kind of, it's one of those things. All right, I'm going to run ads for Twitch. I'm going to get up and stretch, and then we're going to read. See, I said I wasn't going to waffle, and then I sat down and started waffling. I thought they did that because they could have off-screen and their personalities go so well together. I suppose. I mean, I can see that. It's just, it's weird to have something so heavy land upon, like a Deus Ex Machina, right? Like, this is a thing that happened where you couldn't see it, and this is the result. I don't necessarily, it's a pet peeve for me. Deluxe Waffles even. Castle, I also anticipated Luna and Harry would become a couple, but they didn't. Yeah, I honestly, like, when Luna and Harry started getting closer and they started talking more and they started, like, connecting on a person, I honestly felt like it seemed like they were leading up to that. That's what it felt like to me based on it. I think Cho was just fangirling. Yeah, I think that's probably accurate, Tyson. And there were quite a few other girls in the world that did that same thing, because he's famous, and that's based in reality. Like, if you're a famous younger person, or even if you're somebody who is relatively famous, like, I get people who fawn over me, and I'm not even famous. That is the thing that happens in reality. So that is fine, but Harry being so invested in her didn't make a whole lot of sense. But also, Harry just wasn't used to being liked in general, so maybe that's why. There are little things here and there. I'm eating pineapple on pizza for dinner tomorrow night. Is it out of spite for this conversation, Milu? All right, friends, we're gonna run ads for Twitch, and I will be right back. Rajan, thank you. I appreciate you, brother. Here we go. What do we have going on? The cult is growing. I don't want to be the mod that breaks the chat. What is the... before Castle gets back, looking forward to what happens to the borough. Our chair who art in tavern, comfy be thy name, thy tavern come, thy will be done, in the world as it is in the tavern, give us this day our daily waffles. Can't even see the chair because of the ads, but it's there in spirit. I'll tell you it said hi. Never change, yawn. I think you should rewrite the Lord's Prayer around the chair. You guys are ridiculous. When the tavern is built, the chair needs a place of honor, maybe mounted above the fireplace. Oh, good lord. I can put giant googly eyes on the chair if you like. Tell you what, I'll get a horned Viking helm. And then put googly eyes on them and then put that on the chair. You guys are ridiculous. Alright. Giant sunglasses too. Well, but then we wouldn't be able to see the googly eyes though. Gotta celebrate the little wins. For the records, I said I'm not looking forward. Oh, I'm not looking forward to what happens to the borough. Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense. Give it outfits for the holidays. Do you guys want me to decorate the chair for the holidays? Is that what you want? You all are ridiculous. Alright. I'll see if the lady can get some Christmas decorations, some Yuletide decorations for the chair for the holidays. I'll buy more ornaments just for the chair. I'll have to be careful. I'll have to have something that I can take off for when I'm just working, and that I can put on during story time, so that I don't risk breaking it. But I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. Alright, friends, let's go ahead and carry on with the next chapter in this, this downward spiral of sadness that we've committed ourselves to this evening. We are on Chapter 6 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It is what we heathens are good at. I'll donate to the chair. I like that the chair is now more popular than I am. That is, it's earned it. It has to hold me up all the time. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but I weigh over 300 pounds. This chair puts in work. It'd be cool, a Halloween chair, Christmas S chair, a Valentine's Day chair. Alright, I'll see what I can do. I'll get the lady on it immediately. We'll have a Samhain Halloween chair. See what goes on. Get the chair its own Patreon. I'm gonna open an OnlyFans for the chair. Or an OF, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm allowed to say that. I'm gonna get an OF for the chair. It's gonna have its own fan site. We could have votes for it. That's true, we can. You guys are something else. Immediate follow on all platforms. Sorry, she's not in here, so she's chair ankles. Yeah, I'll post pictures of the chair's wheels for you guys. It's undercarriage. Okay, alright. I said I wouldn't waffle. Let's get into this. You guys are lunatics. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Chapter 6. The Ghoul in Pajamas. This is such a great community. I'm starting to question myself. Court. And when it goes up and down, don't forget to record. Yeah, I'll when I do one of these, and then when we do one of these, I'll record it in slow motion. I started something with innocent googly eye suggestion. Oh, I do have the lady working on Viking Raspberry merch. She's coming up with something she's probably gonna do. I don't know what she's gonna do. Slowly remove the furry cover to reveal the true chair. The chair underneath this is hideous, though. So probably not that, Tyson. All right. Chapter 6 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The Ghoul in Pajamas. I've questioned your sanity more than once, Castle. It's perfectly acceptable thing to do. Perfectly acceptable thing to do, Bear. The shock of losing Mad-Eye hung over the house in the days that followed. Harry kept expecting to see him stomping in through the back door like the other Order members, who passed in and out to relay news. Harry felt that nothing but action would assuage his feelings of guilt and grief, and he ought to set on his mission to find and destroy the Horcruxes as soon as possible. Well, you can't do anything about the Ron mouthed the word Horcruxes till you're 17. You still got the trace on you, and we can plan here as well as anywhere, can't we? Or, he dropped his voice to whisper, do you reckon you already know where the you-know-whats are? No, admitted Harry. I think Hermione's been doing a bit of research, said Ron. She said she was saving it for when you got here. They were sitting at the breakfast table. Mr. Weasley and Bill had just left for work. Mrs. Weasley had gone upstairs to wake Hermione and Ginny, while Fleur had drifted off to take a bath. The trace will break on the 31st, said Harry. That means I only need to stay here 4 more days than I can. 5 days, Ron corrected firmly. You've got to stay for the wedding. They'll kill us if we miss it. Harry understood they to mean Fleur and Mrs. Weasley. It's 1 extra day, said Ron when Harry looked mutinous. Don't they realise how important? Of course they don't, said Ron. They haven't got a clue. Now you mention it, I wanted to talk to you about that. Ron glanced towards the door into the hall to check that Mrs. Weasley was not returning yet, and leaned in closer to Harry. Mum's been trying to get it out of me, Hermione and me. What we're off to do. She'll try you next, so brace yourself. Dad and Lupin have both asked as well. But when we said Dumbledore told you not to tell anyone except us, they dropped it. Mom, though, she's determined. Ron's prediction came true within hours. Shortly after lunch, Mrs. Weasley detached Harry from the others by asking for help identifying a lone man's sock that she thought might have come out of his rucksack. Once she had him cornered in the tiny scullery off the kitchen, she started.
Ron and Hermione seem to think that the 3 of you are dropping out of Hogwarts,
she said. She began in a light, casual tone. Oh, said Harry. Yeah, well, we are. The mangle turned of its own accord in a corner, wringing out what looked like one of Mr. Weasley's vests.
Might I ask why you're abandoning your education?
Said Mrs. Weasley. Well, Dumbledore left me stuff to do, mumbled Harry. Ron and Hermione know about it and they want to come too.
What sort of stuff?
Sorry, I can't.
Well, frankly, I think Arthur and I have a right to know. And I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. Granger would agree,
said Mrs. Weasley. Harry had been afraid of the concerned parent attack. He forced himself to look directly into her eyes, noticing as he did so that they were precisely the same shade of brown as Ginny's. This did not help.
Dumbledore didn't want anyone else to know, Mrs. Weasley. I'm sorry. Ron and Hermione don't have to come. It's their choice.
I don't see that you have to go either.
She snapped, dropping all pretense now.
You're barely of age, any of you. It's utter nonsense. Dumbledore needed work doing. He had the whole order at his command. Harry, you must have misunderstood him. Probably he was telling you of something he wanted done, and you took it to mean that he wanted you.
I didn't misunderstand, said Harry flatly. It's got to be me.
He handed her back the single sock he was supposed to be identifying, which was patterned with golden bulrushes.
And that's not mine. I don't support Puddlemere United.
Oh, of course not,
said Mrs. Weasley, with a sudden and rather unnerving return to a casual tone.
I should have realized. Well, Harry, while we've still got you here, you won't mind helping with the preparations for Bill and Flora's wedding, will you? There's still so much to do.
No, of course not,
said Harry, disconcerted by the sudden change of subject. Michaela, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Welcome to the tavern. You've marked us on your map. You should be able to find your way back the very next time you need a story. I remember when we had him running double shields in AC Valhalla. Yeah, that is... When we did game stories regularly on the tavern, you guys loved to torture me. And to be perfectly fair, I loved the challenge of it. So it wasn't dreadful. I was asked once if anyone in my family suffers from insanity. I said, no, we all quite enjoy it, thanks. Fair enough, Bear. Fair enough. It's the right way to say it. I do put up with a lot of your eccentricities, that's for sure. It's because I love our little band of misfits here. Was I?
Sweet of you,
she replied, and she smiled as she left the scullery. From that moment on, Mrs. Weasley kept Harry, Ron, and Hermione so busy with preparations for the wedding that they hardly had any time to think. The kindest explanation of this behaviour would have been that Mrs. Weasley wanted to distract them all from thoughts of Mad-Eye and the terrors of their recent journey. After 2 days of non-stop cutlery cleaning, of colour-matching favours, ribbons and flowers, and denome in the garden, and helping Mrs. Weasley cook vast bashes of canapes, however, Harry started to suspect her of a different motive. All of the jobs she handed out to them seemed to keep him, Ron, and Hermione away from one another. He had not had a chance to speak to the two of them alone since the first night, when he had told them about Voldemort torturing Ollivander.
I think Mom thinks that she can stop the three of you getting together and planning. She'll be able to delay you leaving,
Ginny told Harry in an undertone, as they laid table for dinner on a third night of his stay.
And then what does she think's going to happen? Harry muttered. Someone else might get killed off by Voldemort while she's holding us here, making us make Volovents.
He had spoken without thinking and saw Ginny's face whiten.
So it's true,
she said.
That's what you're trying to do. No, I was joking,
said Harry evasively. They stared at each other, and there was something more than shock in Ginny's expression. Suddenly, Harry became aware that this was the first time that he'd been alone with her since those stolen hours in secluded corners of Hogwarts grounds. He was sure she was remembering them too. Both of them jumped as the door opened and Mr. Weasley, Kingsley, and Bill walked in. They were often joined by other Order members for dinner now, because the Burrow had replaced number 12 Grimmauld Place as the headquarters. Mr. Weasley had explained that after the death of Dumbledore, their secret keeper, each of the people whom Dumbledore had confided Grimmauld Place's location in had become a secret keeper in turn. And there are around 20 of us. That greatly dilutes the power of the Fidelius charm. 20 times as many opportunities for Death Eaters to get secrets out of somebody. They can't expect it to hold much longer. But surely Snape will have told the Death Eaters the address by now, asked Harry. Well, Mad Eye set up a couple of curses against Snape in case he turns up there again. We hope they'll be strong enough, both to keep him out and to bind his tongue if he tries to talk about the place. But we can't be sure. It would have been insane to keep using the place as headquarters now that its protections become so shaky. The kitchen was so crowded that evening it was difficult to maneuver knives and forks. Harry found himself crammed beside Ginny. The unsaid things that had passed between them made them wish they had been separated by a few more people. He was trying so hard to avoid brushing her arm, he could barely cut his chicken. No news about Mad Eye? Harry asked Bill. Nothing, replied Bill. They had not been able to hold a funeral for Moody because Bill and Lupin had failed to recover his body. It had been difficult to know where he might have fallen given the darkness and confusion of the battle. Daily Prophet hasn't said a word about him dying or finding the body, Bill went on. That doesn't mean much. It's keeping a lot quiet these days. And they still haven't called a hearing about the underage magic I used to escape the Death Eaters. Harry called across the table to Mr. Weasley, who shook his head. Because I know I had no choice, or because they didn't want to tell Voldemort. They didn't want to tell the world Voldemort attacked me. The latter, I think. Scrimgeour doesn't want to admit who is as powerful as he is, nor that Azkaban seemed a mass breakout. Yeah, why tell the public the truth? Said Harry, clenching his knife so tightly that the faint scars on the back of his right hand stood out, white against his skin. I must not tell lies. Isn't there anyone in the Ministry prepared to stand up to him? Asked Ron angrily. Of course, Ron. But people are terrified, Mr. Weasley replied. Terrified that they'll be next to disappear, their children will be the next to be attacked. There are nasty rumours going around. I, for one, don't believe the Muggle Studies professor at Hogwarts resigned. She hasn't been seen for weeks now, while Scrimgeour remains shut up in his office all day. I just hope he's working on a plan. There was a pause in which Mrs. Weasley magicked the empty plates into the work surface and served apple tart.
We must decide how we will be disguised, Harry,
said Fleur, once everyone had pudding.
for the wedding.
She added, when they looked confused.
Of course, none of our guests are Death Eaters, but we cannot guarantee that they will not let something slip after they have had champagne.
From this, Harry gathered that she still suspected Hagrid.
Yes, good point,
said Mrs. Weasley from the top of the table, where she sat, spectacles perched on the end of her nose, scanning the immense list of the jobs that she had scribbled on a very long piece of parchment.
Now, Ron! Have you cleaned out your room yet?
Why? Exclaimed Ron, slamming his spoon down and glaring at his mother. Why does my room have to be cleaned out? Harry and I are fine with it the way it is.
Holding your brother's wedding here in a few days' time, young man.
And are they getting married in my bedroom? Said Ron furiously. No. So why in the name of Merlin's saggy lift?
Don't
talk to your mother like that, said Mr. Weasley firmly. And do as you're told. Ron scowled at both of his parents, then picked up his spoon and attacked what was left of the last few mouthfuls of his apple tart. Just a sec. Just a second, friends. I'll be right back. All right, friends. Sorry about that. My eldest sister is out visiting with us, and my youngest sister also came to visit. And uh, good night, Milo. Rest well. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. But yeah, my youngest sister is down here with um, her boys, my nephews. So they came in right as I was doing the things. I'll hear our mimic chair bounce to the mimic chair. I feel like a pole was the only logic. What you can set a Destiny. I think you can do polls in the chat if you like. Hi, sisters. I will let them know that the tavern says hello. All right, let's continue. We're on 64. Let's see. Yeah, we still got a ways to go. I'm gonna try and power through this so that we can finish up before it's too late. Because we're already getting near the end here. So. Where was I? Ron scowled at both of his parents, then picked up his spoon and attacked the last few mouthfuls of his apple tart. I can help. Some of it's my mess, Harry told Ron, but Mrs. Weasley cut across him.
No, dear Harry. I'd much rather you helped Arthur muck out the chickens with Hermione. Chickens and Hermione, I'd be ever so grateful if you'd change the sheets for Monsignor and Madame Delacour. You know they're arriving at 11 tomorrow morning.
But as it turned out, there was very little to do for the chickens.
There's no need to,
mention it to Molly, Mr. Weasley told Harry, blocking his access to the coop.
But, Ted Tonks sent me most of what was left of Sirius's bike, and, I'm hiding, as I say, keeping it in here. Fantastic stuff. There's an exhaust gas can, as I believe it's called, and the most magnificent battery, and it'll be a great opportunity to find out how brakes work. I'm going to try and put it all back together again when Molly's not... when I've got time.
When they returned to the house, Mrs. Weasley was nowhere to be seen, so Harry slipped upstairs to Ron's attic bedroom.
I'm doing it!
Oh, it's you, said Ron in relief, as Harry entered the room. Ron lay back down on the bed, which he had evidently just vacated. The room was just as messy as it had been all week. The only change was that Hermione was now sitting in the far corner, her fluffy ginger cat, Crookshanks, at her feet, sorting books, some of which Harry recognized as his own, into two enormous piles.
Hi, Harry,
she said as he sat down on his camp bed.
How did you manage to get away? Oh, Ron's mum forgot that she asked Ginny and me to change the sheets yesterday,
said Hermione. She threw numerology, grammatica onto one of the piles, and the rise and fall of the dark arts onto another.
We're just talking about Mad Eye, Ron told Harry. I reckon he might have survived. But Bill saw him get hit by a killing curse,
said Harry.
Yeah, but Bill was under attack too, said Ron. How can he be sure what he saw? Even if the killing curse missed, Mad Eye still fell about 1,000 feet,
said Hermione, now weighing Quidditch teams of Britain and Ireland in her hand.
He could have used a shield charm. Fleur said that his wand was blasted out of his hand, said Harry.
Oh, well, all right. If you want him to be dead, said Ron grumpily, punching his pillow into more comfortable shape.
Of course we don't want him to be dead,
said Hermione, looking shocked.
It's dreadful that he's dead, but we're being realistic.
For the first time, Harry imagined Mad Eye's body broken as Dumbledore's had been, yet with that one eye still whizzing in its socket. He felt a stab of revulsion mixed with a bizarre desire to laugh.
Death Eaters probably tidied them up after themselves, that's why no one's found him,
said Ron wisely.
Yeah, said Harry, like Barty Crouch. Turned into a bone and buried in Hagrid's front garden. They probably transfigured Moody and stuffed him. Don't!
Squealed Hermione. Startled, Harry looked over just in time to see her burst into tears over her copy of Spellman's syllabary.
Oh, no,
said Harry, struggling to get up from the old camp bed.
Hermione, I wasn't trying to upset.
But with a great creaking of rusty bed springs, Ron bounded off the bed and got there first. One arm around Hermione, he fished into his jeans pocket and withdrew a revolting-looking handkerchief that he had used to clean out the oven earlier, hastily pulling out his wand, pointing it at the rag, and said, "Tergio." The wand siphoned off most of the grease. Looking rather pleased with himself, Ron handed the slightly smoking handkerchief to Hermione.
Oh, thanks, Ron. I'm sorry.
She blew her nose and hiccuped.
It's just so awful, isn't it? Right after Dumbledore. I just never imagined Mad-Eye dying somehow. He seemed so tough.
Yeah, I know, said Ron, giving her a squeeze.
But you know what he'd say to us if he was here. Constant vigilance,
said Hermione, mopping her eyes.
That's right, said Ron, nodding. He'd tell us to learn from what happened to him. And what I've learned is to not trust that cowardly squit Mundungus.
Hermione gave a shaky laugh and leaned forward to pick up 2 more books. A second later, Ron had snatched his arm. Yeah, the water's over there by the fridge. You don't have to be quiet, everyone knows you're here. Bargaining stage of Greece, yeah. Is the chair a portkey? No, it's not, it's a mimic. Do you want to say hi to the tavern? Just come here. You can stand right here. Stand right here. And then you can reach a hand in front of me and wave. Yeah, reach a hand right here. There you go. That's my youngest sister. She is the mother of my 2 nephews, who some of you guys have seen before. Okay, you're free to go. Hermione gave a shaky laugh and leaned forward to pick up 2 more books. A second later, Ron had snatched his arm back from around her shoulders. She had dropped the Monsters Book of Monsters on his foot. The book had broken free from its restraining belt and snapped viciously at Ron's ankle.
I'm sorry,
Hermione cried as Harry wrenched the book from Ron's leg and tied it shut.
What are you doing with all those books anyway?
Ron asked, limping back to his bed.
Just trying to decide which ones to take with us,
said Hermione.
When we're looking for Horcruxes.
Oh, of course, said Ron, clapping his hand to his forehead. I forgot we'll be hunting down Voldemort in a mobile library.
Ha ha,
said Hermione, looking down at Spellman's syllabary.
I wonder, will we need to translate runes? It's possible. I think we'd better take it to be safe.
He dropped the syllabary into the larger of the 2 piles and picked up Hogwarts, a history. Listen, said Harry. He sat up straight. Ron and Hermione looked at him with similar mixtures of resignation and defiance.
I know you said after Dumbledore's funeral you wanted to come with me,
Harry began. Here he goes, Ron said to Hermione, rolling his eyes.
As we knew he would,
sighed Hermione, looking back to the books.
You know, I think I will take Hogwarts history. Even if we're not going back there, I don't think it'd feel right if I didn't have it with.
Listen!
No, Harry, you listen,
said Hermione.
We're coming with you, and that was decided months ago. Years, really.
But shut up, Ron advised him.
Are you sure you thought this through?
Harry persisted.
Let's see,
said Hermione, slamming Travels with Trolls into the discard pile with a rather fierce look.
I've been packing for days, so we're ready to leave at a moment's notice, which, for your information, has included doing some pretty difficult magic, not to mention smuggling Mad-Eye's whole stock of Polyjuice potion right under Ron's mum's nose.
I've also modified my parents' memories so they're convinced they're really called Wendell and Monica Wilkins, and that their life's ambition is to move to Australia, which they have now done. That's to make it more difficult for Voldemort to track them down and interrogate them about me, or you, because unfortunately, I've told them quite a bit about you. Assuming I survive the hunt for Horcruxes, I'll find Mom and Dad and lift the enchantment. If I don't, well, I think I've cast a good enough charm to keep them safe and happy. Wendell and Monica Wilkins don't know that they've got a daughter, you see.
Hermione's eyes were swimming with tears again. Ron got back off the bed and put his arm around her once more, and frowned at Harry as though reproaching him for his lack of tact. Harry could not think of anything to say, not least because it was highly unusual for Ron to be teaching anyone else tact.
Hermione, I'm sorry, I didn't realise that Ron and I know perfectly well what might happen if we come with you. Well, we do. Ron, show Harry what you've done.
Nah, he's just eating, said Ron.
Go on, he needs to know.
Oh, all right, Harry, come here. For the second time, Ron withdrew his arm from around Hermione and stumped over to the door. Come on.
Why?
Harry asked, following Ron out of the room into the tiny landing. The sender, muttered Ron, pointing his wand at the low ceiling. A hatch opened right over their head and a ladder slid down to their feet. A horrible half-sucking, half-moaning sound came out of the square hole, along with an unpleasant smell like open drains.
That's your ghoul, isn't it?
Asked Harry, who had never actually met the creature that sometimes disrupted the nightly silence. Yeah, it is. Climbed the ladder. Come on, and have a look at him. Harry followed Ron up a few short steps into the tiny attic space. His head and shoulders were in the room before he caught sight of the creature. Curled up a few feet from him, fast asleep in the gloom, with its large mouth wide open.
But it looks... Do ghouls normally wear pajamas?
No, said Ron.
Nor have they usually got red hair and that number of pustules.
Harry contemplated the thing, slightly revolted. It was human in shape and size, and it was wearing what, now that Harry's eyes became used to the darkness, was clearly an old pair of Ron's pajamas. He was also sure that the ghouls were generally rather slim and bald, rather than distinctly hairy and covered in angry purple blisters. It's me, see? Said Ron.
No, said Harry, I don't.
I'll explain it back in my room. Smell's getting to me, said Ron. They climbed back down the ladder, which Ron returned to the ceiling and rejoined Hermione, who was still sorting books. Once we've left, the ghoul's going to come down and live down here in my room, said Ron. I think he's really looking forward to it. Well, it's hard to tell, because all he can do is moan and drool. But he nods a lot when you mention it. Anyways, he's going to be me with Spatagoy. Good, eh? Harry merely looked in confusion. It is. Clearly frustrated that Harry was not grasped by the brilliance of the plan. Look, when we three don't turn up at Hogwarts again, everyone's going to think that Hermione and I must be with you, right? Which means the Death Eaters will go straight for our families to see if they've got information about where you are. But hopefully it'll look like I've gone away with Mum and Dad.
But hopefully it'll look like I've gone away with Mum and Dad. And a lot of Muggle-borns are talking about going into hiding at the moment,
said Hermione. We can't hide my whole family, it'll look too fishy. And they can't all leave their jobs, said Ron. So we're going to put out a story that I'm seriously ill with Spatagoy, which is why I can't go back to school. If anyone comes calling to investigate, Mom and Dad can show them the ghoul in my bed covered in pustules. Spatagoy's really contagious, so they're not going to want to go near him. It won't matter what he can't say anything either, because apparently you can't once the fungus is spread to your uvula.
And your mom and dad are in on this plan?
Asked Harry. Daddy's. He helped Fred and George transform the ghoul. Mum, well, you've seen what she's like. She won't accept we're going till we've gone. There was a silence in the room, broken only by the gentle thuds of Hermione continuing to throw books into one pile or the other. Ron was watching her, and Harry looked from one to the other, unable to say anything. The measures they had taken to protect their families had made him realize more than anything else could have done that they really were going to come with him, and that they knew exactly how dangerous that would be. He wanted to tell them what they'd meant to him, but he simply could not find the words important enough. Through the silence came the muffled sounds of Mrs. Weasley shouting from 4 floors below.
Jenny probably left a speck of dust on a proxy napkin ring, said Ron. I don't know why the Delacours have got to come 2 days before the wedding. Flora's sister's a bridesmaid. She needs to be here for the rehearsal. And she's too young to come on her own,
said Hermione as she poured indecisively over Break with a Banshee.
Well, guests aren't going to help Mom's stress level,
said Ron.
But we really need to decide,
said Hermione, tossing defensive magical theory into a bin without a second glance, and picking up an appraisal of magical education in Europe.
Is where we're going after we leave here. I know you said you wanted to go to Godric's Hollow first, Harry. And I understand why, but, well, shouldn't we make the Horcruxes our priority?
If we knew where any Horcruxes were, I'd agree with you, said Harry, who did not know what Hermione really understood, who did not believe that Hermione really understood his desire to go to Godric's Hollow. His parents' graves were the only part of the attraction. He had a strong, though inexplicable feeling that the place held answers for him. Perhaps it was simply because it was there that he had survived Voldemort's killing curse. Now that he was facing the challenge of repeating the feat, Harry was drawn to the place where it had happened, wanting to understand.
Don't you think there's a possibility Voldemort's keeping watch on Godric's Hollow?
Hermione asked.
He might expect you to go back and visit your parents' graves once you're free to do whatever you like.
This had not occurred to Harry. While he struggled to find the counter-argument, Ron spoke up, evidently following his own train of thought.
This R.A.B. person, he said. You know, the one who stole the real locket.
Hermione nodded.
He said in his note he was going to destroy it, didn't he?
Harry dragged his rucksack toward him and pulled out the fake Horcrux, which R.A.B.'s note was still folded in.
I've stolen the real Horcrux, and I intend to destroy it as soon as I can.
Harry read out.
Well, what if he did finish it off?
Said Ron.
Or she,
interposed Hermione.
Whichever,
said Ron.
It'd be one less for us to do. Yes, but we're still going to have to try and trace the real locket, aren't we?
Said Hermione.
To find out whether or not it's destroyed. And once we get a hold of it, how do we destroy a Horcrux?
Asked Ron.
Well, said Hermione, been doing research into that.
How? Asked Harry.
I didn't think there were any books on Horcruxes in the library. There weren't,
said Hermione, who had turned pink.
Dumbledore removed them all, but he didn't destroy them.
Ron sat up wide-eyed.
How in the name of Merlin's pants have you managed to get your hands on those Horcrux books? It wasn't stealing,
said Hermione, looking from Harry to Ron with a kind of desperation.
They were still library books, even if Dumbledore had taken them off the shelves. Anyway, if he really didn't want anyone to get at them, I'm sure he would have made it much harder to...
Get to the point, said Ron.
Well, it was easy,
said Hermione in a small voice.
I just did a summoning charm, you know, Occhio. And they zoomed out of Dumbledore's study window right into the girls' dormitory. But why didn't you tell us this?
Harry asked, regarding Hermione with a mixture of admiration and said Hermione in an even smaller voice.
Right after we agreed we'd leave school and go look for the Horcruxes. When I went back upstairs to get my things, it occurred to me that the more we knew about them, the better it would be. And I was alone in there, so I tried, and it worked. They flew straight in through the open window, and I packed them.
She swallowed and then said imploringly,
I can't believe Dumbledore would have been angry. It's not as though we were going to use the information to make a Horcrux, is it?
Can you hear us complaining? Said Ron. Where are these books anyway? Hermione rummaged for a moment and then extracted one from a pile, a large volume bound in faded black leather. She looked a little nauseated and held it as gingerly as if it were something recently dead.
This is the one that gives explicit instructions on how to make a Horcrux. Secrets of the Darkest Arts. It's a horrible book, really awful, full of evil magic. I wonder when Dumbledore removed it from the library. If he didn't do it until he was headmaster, I bet Voldemort got all the instructions he needed from here.
Why do you have to ask Slughorn how to make Horcruxes then, if he'd already read that? Asked Ron. He only approached Slughorn to find out what would happen if you split your soul into 7, said Harry. Dumbledore was sure Riddle already knew how to make a Horcrux by the time he asked Slughorn about them. I think you're right, Hermione. That could easily have been where he got the information.
And the more I've read about them,
said Hermione,
the more horrible they seem. And the less I can believe he actually made 6. It warns in this book how unstable that makes the rest of your soul by ripping it. And that's just making one Horcrux.
Harry remembered what Dumbledore had said about Voldemort moving beyond usual evil. Is there any way of putting yourself back together? Ron asked.
Yes,
said Hermione with a hollow smile.
But it would be excruciatingly painful.
Why? How do you do it? Asked Harry.
Remorse,
said Hermione.
You've got to really feel what you've done. There's a footnote. Apparently the pain of it can destroy you. I can see Voldemort attempting it. Somehow. I can't see Voldemort attempting it somehow. Can you?
No, said Ron before Harry could answer. So does it say how to destroy Horcruxes in that book?
Yes,
said Hermione, now turning the fragile pages of it to examine rotting entrails.
Because it warns dark wizards how strong they have to make it, the enchantments on them. From all that I've read, from what Harry did to Riddle's diary, was one of the few really foolproof ways of destroying a Horcrux.
What? Stabbing it with a basilisk fang? Asked Harry.
Oh,
well, lucky we've got such a large supply of basilisk fangs then, said Ron. I was wondering what we were going to do with them all.
It doesn't have to be a basilisk fang,
said Hermione patiently.
It has to be something so destructive the Horcrux can't repair itself. Basilisk venom only has one antidote and it's incredibly rare.
Phoenix tears, said Harry, nodding.
Exactly,
said Hermione.
A problem is that there are very few substances as destructive as basilisk venom, and they're all dangerous to carry around with you. That's a problem we're going to have to solve. Though, because ripping and smashing or Horcruxes won't do the trick, you've got to put it beyond magical repair.
But even if we wreck the thing it lives in, said Ron, why can't the bit of the soul in it just go and live in something else?
Because a Horcrux is the complete opposite of a human being.
Seeing that Harry and Ron looked thoroughly confused, Hermione hurried on.
Look, if I picked up a sword right now, Ron, and ran you through with it, I wouldn't damage your soul at all.
Which would be a real comfort to me, I'm sure, said Ron, and Harry laughed.
It should be, actually. But my point is, whatever happens to your body, your soul will survive, untouched. But it's other way around with Horcruxes. The fragment of your soul inside depends on the container. It's an enchanted body for survival. It can't exist without it.
That diary sort of died when I stabbed it, said Harry, remembering the ink pouring like blood from the punctured pages, and the screams of the piece of Voldemort's skull as it vanished.
And once the diary was properly destroyed, the bit of soul trapped in it could no longer exist. Ginny tried to get rid of the diary before you did, flushed it away, but obviously it came back good as new.
Hang on, said Ron, frowning. The bit of soul in that diary was possessing Ginny, wasn't it? So how does that work then?
Well, the magical container's still intact. The bit of soul inside it can flit in and out of someone as if they get too close to the object. It doesn't mean holding it for too long. It means nothing. It has nothing to do with touching it,
she added before Ron could speak.
It means close emotionally. Ginny poured her heart into that diary. She made herself incredibly vulnerable. You're in trouble if you get too fond or dependent on the Horcrux.
I wonder how Dumbledore destroyed the ring, said Harry. Why didn't I ask him? I never really... His voice trailed away. He was thinking of all the things should have asked Dumbledore, of how, since the headmaster died, it seemed to Harry that he had wasted so many opportunities when Dumbledore had been alive, to find out more, to find out everything. The silence was shattered as the bedroom door flew open, and with a wall-shaking crash, Hermione shrieked and dropped secrets of darkest arts. Crookshanks streaked under the bed, hissing indignantly. Ron jumped off the bed and skidded on a discarded chocolate frog wrapper and smacked his head on the opposite wall. Harry instinctively dived for his wand before realizing that he was looking up at Mrs. Weasley, whose hair was dishevelled and whose face was contorted with rage.
Sorry to break up your cosy little gathering,
she said, her voice trembling.
I'm sure you all need your rest. There are wedding presents stuck in my room that need sorting out, and I was under the impression that you had agreed to help.
Oh, yes, said Hermione, looking terrified as she leapt to her feet, sending the books flying in every direction.
We will. We're sorry.
With an anguished look at Harry and Ron, Hermione hurried out of the room after Mrs. Weasley. It's like being a house elf, complained Ron in an undertone, still massaging his head as he and Harry followed. Except without the job satisfaction. The sooner this wedding is over, the happier I'll be. Yeah, said Harry. Then we'll have nothing to do except find Horcruxes. It'll be like a holiday, won't it? Ron started to laugh, but at the sight of the enormous pile of wedding presents waiting for them in Mrs. Weasley's room, stopped quite abruptly. The Delacours arrived the following morning at 11 o'clock. Harry, Ron, Hermione and Ginny were feeling quite resentful towards Flo's family by this time, and it was with an ill grace that Ron stumped back upstairs to put on a matching socks, and Harry attempted to flatten his hair. Once they had all been deemed smart enough, they trooped out into the sunny backyard to await the visitors. Harry had never seen the place looking so tidy. The rusty cauldrons and old Wellington boots that usually littered the steps of the back door were gone, replaced by 2 new flutterby bushes standing on either side of the door, in large pots. There was no breeze, the leaves waved lazily, giving an attractive rippling effect. The chickens had been shut away and the yard had been swept. The nearby garden had been pruned, plucked, and generally spruced up, although Harry, who liked it in its overgrown state, thought it looked rather forlorn without its usual contingent of capering gnomes. He had lost track of how many security enchantments had been placed upon the borough by both the Order and by the Ministry. All he knew was that it was no longer possible for anybody to travel by magic directly into the place. Mr. Weasley had therefore gone to meet the Delacours on top of a nearby hill. They were to arrive by Portkey. The first sound of their approach was an unusually high-pitched laugh, which turned out to be coming from Mr. Weasley, who appeared at the gate moments later, laden with luggage, and leading a beautiful blonde woman in long leaf-green robes, who could only be Flo's mother.
Maman!
Cried Flo, rushing towards the gate.
Papa!
Monsignor Delacour was nowhere near as attractive as his wife. He was a head shorter and extremely plump, with a little pointed black beard. However, he looked good-natured. Bouncing towards Mrs. Weasley on high-heeled boots, he kissed her twice on the cheek, leaving her flustered. You have been too much trouble, he said in a deep voice. Lord tells us you have been working very hard.
Oh, it's been nothing,
Shrilled Mrs. Weasley.
No trouble at all.
Ron relieved his feelings by aiming a kick at a gnome who was peering out from behind one of the nearby flutterbushes. Dear lady, said Monsieur Delacour, still holding Mrs. Weasley's hand between his own two plump ones and beaming, we are most honored at the approaching union of our two families. Let me present my wife, Apolline. Madame Delacour glided forward and stooped to kiss Mrs. Weasley too.
Enchanté,
She said.
Your husband has been telling us such amusing stories.
Mr. Weasley gave a maniacal laugh. Mrs. Weasley threw him a look, upon which he became immediately silent and assumed the expression appropriate to the sick bed of a close friend. And of course, you have met my little daughter Gabrielle, said Monsignor Delacour. Gabrielle was Fior in miniature, 11 years old, with waist-length hair of pure silvery blonde. She gave Mrs. Weasley a dazzling smile and hugged her, and threw Harry a glowing look, batting her eyelashes. Jenny cleared her throat loudly.
Well, come in, do,
said Mrs. Weasley brightly as she ushered the Delacours into the house, with many,
do, please,
and
after yous, and not at alls.
The Delacours that soon transpired were helpful, pleasant guests. They were pleased with everything and keen to assist with the preparations for the wedding. Monsieur Delacour... What? Hey! Come here. Lay down. It's fine. Lay down. Stop it. Being a whiner. They were pleased with everything and keen to assist with the preparations for the wedding. Monsieur Delacour pronounced everything from the seating plan to the bridesmaids' shoes charmant. Madame Delacour was most accomplished at household spells and had the oven properly cleaned in a trice. Gabrielle followed her elder sister around, trying to assist her in any way she could, and jabbering away in rapid French. On the downside, the burrow was not built to accommodate so many people. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley were now sleeping in the sitting room, having shouted down Monsieur and Madame Delacour's protest and insisted they take their bedroom. Gabrielle was sleeping with Fleur in Percy's old room, and Bill would be sharing with Charlie, his best man, once Charlie arrived from Romania. Opportunities to make plans together became virtually non-existent, and it was in desperation that Ron, Harry, and Hermione took to volunteering to feed the chickens just to escape the overcrowded house.
Well, she still won't leave us alone,
snarled Ron, as their second attempt to meet in the yard was foiled by the appearance of Mrs. Weasley, carrying a large basket of laundry in her arms.
Oh, good. You fed the chickens,
she called as she approached them.
Better shut them away again, before the men arrive tomorrow. To put up the tent for the wedding,
she explained. She explained, pausing to lean against the henhouse. She looked exhausted.
Element's magic marquees. They're very good. Bill's escorting them. You'd better stay inside while they're here, Harry. I must say it's complicated organising a wedding and having all these security spells around the place.
I'm sorry, said Harry humbly.
Oh, don't be silly, dear,
said Mrs. Weasley at once.
I didn't mean... Well, your safety is much more important. Actually, I've been wanting to ask you how you want to celebrate your birthday, Harry. 17, after all. It's an important day.
I don't want to fuss,
said Harry quickly, envisaging an additional strain that this would put on them all.
Really, Mrs. Weasley. Just a normal dinner would be fine. It's the day before the wedding.
Oh, well, if you're sure, dear, I'll invite Remus, Tonks, shall I? And how about Hagrid?
That'd be great, said Harry. But please don't go to loads of trouble.
Not at all, not at all. It's no trouble.
She looked at him, a long, searching look, then smiled a little sadly, straightened up, and walked away. Harry watched as she waved her wand near the washing line, and damp clothes rose into the air to hang themselves up, and suddenly he felt a great wave of remorse for the inconvenience and pain he was giving her. And so ends Chapter 6 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood... No, not Half-Blood Prince. The Deathly Hallows. Oh. Alright. Did I miss anyone or anything while I was distracted? Alright, boys and girls, it is late and I have kin to attend to, so unfortunately, I'll do one song to send us out. So what song shall we sing? I'll let the lady choose. My love, what song shall we sing to send everyone away with? Put her on the spot, she wasn't ready. She was unprepared. Huh?
Memorize the thing. So I had to finish it.
Sheer bliss, it was my absolute pleasure. I'm so glad so many of you joined tonight. And for the first time in a very long time, we had over 50 persons in the tavern tonight. Yeah, we can do black as the colour. We'll send everybody off with black as the colour. I think that's good. I just want to get past the wedding and the aftermath of it. Yeah, it is... I don't know, you've warned me, but I'm not sure what it is that is going to happen, but I'm prepared for it to be bad, as we've already been off on a hell of a thing tonight. So the lady has said we'll do black as the colour. I think that is a wonderful song to end off on. Bethany says, thank you, Una, for the recommendation, because that's a great song. Probably fighting, I don't know. My sister and the boys are still here. I don't know if...
Yeah.
Sir Bliss, thank you for the friendship necklaces. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Bear says, wow, lovely choice. I think Bear's very pleased. Bear is the one who initially recommended black as the color, so I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And for all of our Twitch friends, we will raid somebody when we're done, just to share the love. But I appreciate all of you coming out tonight, all the likes and shares and gifts and tips to the tavern keeper and all of the conversation. You guys have been wonderful. Again, for the first time ever, we had over 50 people in the tavern tonight. The first time in a while, we had over 50 people in the tavern tonight. It was wonderful to have you all. We could raid Falcor, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that was one of Bear's big insistent choices. He was sending me lyrics and versions by Christy Moore and so on. And thank you to all of our barkeeps. Let's get around for the barkeeps who do such a good job keeping us all safe and fed. You did. I think that it was after the fact, because Bear was sending it to me in messages before it was brought up into like the tavern. But I know that you also liked it, Bethany. All right. Now black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like summer roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands. I love the ground whereon she stands. Heseladen, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. You've marked this on your map. You'll now be able to find your way back the next time you seek a story. We just did Valhalla Calling last night, right? No, Tuesday night. The last time we were on. Last time Storytime was live. I love my love, and well she knows. I love the ground whereon she goes. I hope the day it soon will come when she and I will be as one. Now black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like summer roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands. I love the ground whereon she stands. The kittens are screaming. I need to go feed them. Good night, Shabliss. We hope to see you again on Sunday or next Tuesday. Rest well and thank you kindly for the gifts and for the company. We appreciate you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you back again. I go to the Clyde for to mourn and weep, for satisfied I never can be. I write her a letter, just a few short lines, and suffer death 1,000 times. Now black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like summer roses fair. Hey! No. Lay down. Such a baby. Summer roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands. I love the ground whereon she stands. I love the ground whereon she stands. I'm autistic. What's floating? Go lay down. Stop trying to climb on Mom. It's not a problem. Lay down. Slats. Slats. Now if he looks sideways like he's going to pretend like he didn't hear me. Slats. Dog. My family's upstairs. They're kind of like stomping around and it's stressing the dog out. Thank you for the song. Love you. I appreciate you for the recommendation. And thank you to all of you, wonderful patrons of the tavern, for making it such a wonderful night for us here. I hope that you are all doing well. Good old Harry Potter Clow, I didn't see you drop in, but I'm glad that you did. And I hope you enjoyed yourself while you were here. Alright, boys and girls, this is where we will end for tonight. It was wonderful to have you all. Esther says, hello, Bonnie Coda. Elsie says, hello, Woof. He whines back, because that's what he does. Maddie, the ladies of the tavern will say, who can be your girlfriend? Just kidding. I mean, you guys have all basically taken ownership of Maddie, so it seems appropriate. Is the lyric Summer Roses? Like some roses fair is the lyric, Bethany. Like summer roses fair. I did get your message, Maddie. I did indeed. Elsie loves Coda. Coda never gets to see Elsie, but I'm sure he would love that as well. Alright, so friends over on Twitch, we're going to raid probably Falcon if she's on, and for everyone else, this is where we must part for the evening. I thank you for all of the love and support. Thank you to all of our wonderful barkeeps. Thank you to all of the beautiful regulars who spend their time and coin and attention here in the tavern. The lady and I love you for it. The lady will be back on Sunday. I'll be on to waffle for a little bit beforehand, and she, of course, will be on to tell you all the story. And welcome to all of the new folk as well. I'm glad that you came, and we hope that we will see you back again. So, until next time, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, and we will see you next time. Good night, my friends.